good size set wave for Tatiana Weston-Webb. She starts to stall for the pitch. She gets barreled.
Steph Gilmore.
Great style as she just barrels down the line.
Courtney Conlogue feeling what it's like to be world #1 for the first time in her career.
Well, here we go. This is Joanne Defay now in front of her hometown crowd.
It's time for the Roxy Pro to take to the lineup once again here in Hossegor for the 9th stop of the Samsung Galaxy Championship Tour. It's been a little cooler day as far as weather's been concerned, but some big matchups already unfolding. We have the quarterfinals stacked and ready to go for the Quicksilver Pro. And now we have the same plan for the best women in the world, starting with round 4, heat number 1. It's a heavyweight matchup. Tyler Wright taking on Courtney Conlogue. Courtney, #1 in the world, still in yellow. Top of the Jeep leaderboard, looking to get a spot into the quarterfinals. Tyler Wright still acting as a defending champ. Crazy how much happens in 1 year. Last season, this was a final out here on the same beach break. During the break, Potts, we got a start from Courtney.
Yeah, Courtney off to a good start, and she's going to be really concentrating hard on this heat, Joe. This is world title implications right here. If Courtney fumbles, Carissa can go on to make a semi-final and steal that jersey back, so Courtney knows that. She's got a tough heat ahead of her. Tyler Wright opens her account as well. Tyler goes down, unfortunately, on that wave. So it's both young ladies off to a quick start. Courtney with the nod on that exchange, though, Joe, 5.33. Conditions are starting to slow up a little bit. And I'm starting to think that when you get the opportunity, you can't afford to blow it. You've got to make sure you capitalize, because when that more that tide comes in, Joe, the less waves are going to hit that bank, and it's going to be harder to get back out and get another wave. So you've got to really make sure you pick the right ones and then don't blow it.
Kind of crazy when you think about that scenario, and having a world title on the line. Back when we were in the non-elimination round 3, the Courtney cap was saying how important that matchup was for a win. Obviously not taking the win, that makes round 4 even more important, and she's taking on Tyler Wright, who's acting as spoiler. Tyler not thinking about a world title race. She even says that when she's in one. At the moment, Tyler has shown some signs of brilliance, kind of returning to the latter part of major events. She's starting to realize that she does not like that feeling of losing and feels left out of this world title race picture.
You know, I think it's slowly sinking in that she's realizing she's got the talent to win this thing. You know, she's got the ability to walk away world champion. And I think the more it doesn't happen, it's starting to sting. It's starting to, really hit home that, hang on a sec, what's going on? I mean, all these girls are winning around me and I'm not. So I like that. It's going to really fire Tyler up. Even though she's having probably one of the worst years she's had, she's still #7 in the world. A couple of events to go. If she can get past Courtney here, then I think she's well and truly on her way.
Really interesting thinking of Tyler and Steph Gilmore just acting as spoilers in this world title race. Last year, it was really between those two coming down to the wire at Honolulu Bay when Stephanie achieved that 6th world title. Conlogue representing Southern California, lives in Santa Ana. Kind of all of Southern California is her home break. Doesn't mind spending a ton of time in the car, just combing Huntington Beach all the way down to Lower Trestles in San Clemente, which happen to be 2 stops on the Samsung Galaxy Championship Tour. So she's got that going for her. When you look at the previous matchups with these two, Tyler's up 5-3 over Courtney, and the first 3 consecutive wins all were going Tyler's way. Then she also won a final over Courtney last season. But now things are changing since Courtney's wearing yellow. She's the informed surfer this season. Tyler setting up a solid one out the back. A lot of white water to deal with as she's still thinking about the open face and now deciding to kick out. Next wave setting up for Courtney. Conlogue putting herself in a bit better position right in front of Tyler Wright. She'll hammer it off the top. Great connection for a big first turn. Going for a massive foam climb. She'll eject. Good for one move. Conlogue already has the 5.33. So slowly building on that total out front.
What a move it was too, right in front of Tyler Wright. Courtney just belting that wave. Unfortunately closing out. Let's have a look again. Courtney takes off. Wave is well and truly overhead. Draws off the bottom and then just unleashes a huge turn. Wave closed out, so Courtney going for broke on that occasion. One maneuver wave. It's going to be interesting to see the score drop through for that. Courtney conlogue. I tell you what, once it gets big, when there's any kind of size, she just seems to crank it up. Seems to look more and more comfortable the bigger the waves get.
Tyler, the defending champ of this event, defending champ of last year's men's events, John Florence, and he's with Peter Mel.
John, your three-man heat this morning, highest score we saw was a 6, and so I'm sure you probably would have had to readjust coming into this heat. That's presuming, of course, which I don't like to do, but you would think that you wanted to, you knew you have to put something much bigger on the board.
Yeah, I just kind of had to change my surfing a little bit, I think, just be more connecting with my turns. I wasn't doing that quite as much earlier. I was kind of treating it more like, I'll do a turn and then pump and try to do an air or something. And, that's like I said the other day, it's like this place has so many different faces to it, going from surfing those big barrels to when it's long and a perfect right like this. So you have to adjust your surfing kind of the scoring. And they're really loving the back-to-back turns today. And even in that heat, I was having kind of trouble, getting my feet in the wax and doing that. I'm so, want to just do a big air or try something big. But, yeah, I got lucky enough to kind of get a couple in. I mean, I still did an air, but...
And tell me about that air. I mean, when you're landing backwards like that and your board is pretty much straight up and down, how do you have that ability to pull that around?
I don't really know. I kind of just did it. I just, I kind of just fling it and just hope for the best.
But you do it all the time. I mean, there's got to be some sort of trick.
Yeah, I guess landing on top of it.
I think it's the wax all the way to the nose of your board.
It could be that. My feet land somewhere up there. There's some pressure things up there.
Well, job well done. John Florence back in the quarterfinals, trying to be that defending champ and win it one more time.
Thanks a lot, Pete. That's a great question for John. How do you do that? I've seen Grom's copy his wax job, and they don't look the same as John. And when you ask him, it's just a natural instinct, it seems. That's how he takes apart lineups. Doesn't have any serious coaching, just relies on his ability to understand the ocean. And he's kind of acknowledging what the challenge is out here. He's surfed this place at different tides, different sizes. Can't even compare any of the heats he's had this season to what he did last year on Road to the Final.
I think John's a classic example of, don't think too much about it. Just react on that instinct thing. Just, like he does with his maneuver. You ask him, how does he do that? He doesn't know. He just flings it up there.
This is Tyler Wright from Australia. Layback jam to start. Plenty open face with a lot of speed. Full roundhouse cutback, slams the rebound. Into this inside section, you can kind of see the backwash starting to show up, and she'll hop out. See Courtney conlogue now with a 9-point total, 5.33, 3.67. Tyler turning in her best wave so far.
Yeah, it's going to get trickier and trickier. That inside section's going to get really fat, so you've got to make sure that you can get a couple of quick turns in. Off the bottom, off the top combo, you heard John talk about it, that the judges are liking those combos of maneuvers, back-to-back turns. That's where the big points are coming from. So I'm sure Courtney and Tyler have been studying these last few heats. They know exactly what to do. Keeping in mind that tide's coming in all the time, and it's going to get more and more inconsistent, and those good ones are going to be few and far between.
Courtney conlogue has a lot on the line as far as the world title is concerned. She had the potential chance of clinching here if Carissa Moore would have had a 9th or worse. Well, that's already wiped out since Carissa was able to skip straight to the quarterfinals. Now the situation is if Courtney would go down in this matchup, Carissa, if she got to the semifinals, could then wear yellow heading into Honolulu Bay. That's how tight this world title race is. Last year we're talking about a handful of names coming into the mix with Tyler's late charge. Finally ended up with Stephanie Gilmore, Tyler Wright, and Sally Fitzgibbons on the final. Now it's California versus Hawaii as we check out Tyler's last wave.
Yeah, that trademark layback snap there from Tyler. Look how much power she puts into her turns. I mean, this is a sort of a big slopey wave, so pretty hard to set that rail. Tyler Wright just gets her feet in that spot and just really unleashes those big turns there. So Tyler Wright, that's going to definitely be her best wave. Courtney conlogue with a 5.33. 3.67. Tyler looking for an 8.0 to get herself back in the heat, but still really looking for her 2 waves.
You see a couple little lines coming through. Courtney conlogue does have priority, trying to better that low 3 range score. Doesn't look interested at all. So she'll just let Tyler take a look here. And Tyler can't catch up to it. That's going to run through. Could be another option out the back. Courtney knows exactly what she's looking for. An important matchup to keep the yellow jersey. Fun looking glassy wall setting up for a forehand. Conlogue driving through, will pull in just for a moment. Lip lands on her head and she'll end up out the back.
Well, I'll tell you what, she looked a little bit indecisive there on what to do. I haven't really seen too many barrels today. It's been more maneuvers.
Well, Tyler wants to keep moving. Sets up the first turn. Little forehand gouge. Now up front. High line off the top. Running after a big section now. Greets it with a clean snap. Tyler now out of there into the flats. Starting to build on her score line. Hunting down Conlogue. 17 minutes remaining in round 4, heat number 1. Winner of this heat moves on to take on last year's Rookie of the Year, Joanne Defay. This is Conlogue now, quick to answer. A lot of momentum. Solid snap under the lip. Keeping the flow going down the line. It's a quick wave. 2 maneuvers. Hef and Tracy like it. Game face is on for both of them. It's cool to see just a new surfer going through the experience of a world title race. We've seen Courtney's camp for a few years, but now you can kind of see the pressure on their faces.
Totally different, isn't it, Joe? It's a little bit more at stake, and you know you've got yourself in that position. Watch this opening turn here from Courtney. She just really lays into that turn right there. Both Courtney and Tyler famous for those layback snaps. Big rail turns from both young ladies, two of the most powerful women on tour. So we're going to see lots of buckets thrown. Tyler Wright managed a few more maneuvers on her wave. Courtney's maybe a little bit more dynamic. So the judges are going to be watching the conditions. They're going to be adjusting the scale accordingly. And we'll have to wait and see how those two waves pan out.
You can see the paddle race for priority. Courtney Conlogue paddles for fun. Just on big boards at home. She did that through her injury last season. And this event really marked her comeback, making that runner-up performance to Tyler Wright. As we check out the numbers coming in, Tyler locks in that 5.73. It's her best wave so far. We'll see how Courtney did. Definitely improving on the 3.67. Jeep leaderboard's always a good one to check out. It's always on worldsurfleague.com if you want to follow this world title race. Courtney out front. You can see how close the point totals are. Remember, 10,000 points are awarded for a win at the championship tour level. Fitzgibbons still involved in this contest. She's coming in the last heat of this round in round 5. Lost to Lakey to Sage in round 2. Lakey's worst result of the season. And seeing Baitendog go down in the same round to Alessa Quizon was a big shock to the contest.
Yeah, that was a tricky afternoon of surfing right there for those two young ladies. But it is a close title race, and as we said before, it's going to Maui, so it's going to come down to who gets the better result. You know, we're discussing that earlier, and it's we're almost saying, look, if it's up into that 6 to 8 foot range, maybe some 10-foot sets coming through, it's going to probably play more into Courtney Conlogue's hands. But then if it's that 6 foot and under, Carissa Moore's deadly. So it's going to be interesting to see if we're going to get swell, how that thing's all going to play out. It's going to be exciting.
So many things on the line that we'll wait to see what will happen coming into the season finale later on this year. 14:10 on the clock. Remember, last season, this didn't happen in round 4. Courtney and Tyler met in the final. The 2014 Roxy Pro. As we look back, Tyler was in a crazy kind of form. Courtney was the spoiler this season. She just came in late, fresh off an injury, and she was dying to compete. Remember, she suffered from a round 2 loss at Lower Trestles. It was basically a local lineup for Courtney, so she had something to prove.
That she did, but I'll tell you what, she came up against Tyler Wright, who was in sizzling form. I mean, she was in that world title race, and I'll tell you what, she was well and truly on her way. Dropping 9-point rides left, right, and center in that final. I think it was 4 9-point rides I think she had, Joe. And literally dominated that final, doing a big slob grab air. And I mean, she was just really couldn't put a foot wrong. Let's see if Courtney can get one back on her here.
It's interesting when you try to break down these two surfers. They have a lot of similar things going for them. When you think about power, they both have a crazy layback jam. They can kind of outpower their competitors when it comes to competing. but they both don't mind mixing it up above the lip. Maybe we see it a little bit more often with Tyler. Tyler's had more success in world title races because she's had a couple of them, and now Courtney's going through it for the first time. If you're going to break them down strength to strength, how would you separate these two?
Well, it's pretty hard to separate them. I mean, you pretty much hit the nail on the head. They both have that power. They both have that ability to do those big rail turns. They're both good in the air. They both charge when the conditions get gnarly. I think the advantage really would come Tyler Wright's way by having just that experience of being in those heavy situations. Now that Courtney's starting to experience that, that's another feather in her cap, so she's going to be even more dangerous coming into the next couple of years. She's going to definitely have her thrown her hat in the mix for a world title.
Now looking at 12:15 to go, Tyler got a 7.07 on her previous ride, keeps her in second place. Conlogue got a 7.5 for the two-turn combo. Courtney's up again. Lay back carve, she'll slip off on the opening maneuver. So that doesn't affect anything. These two can catch as many waves as they want in this lineup. No wave max, just scored on their top two. Conlogue still out front. Tyler now needs just a 5.77. In between heats, we saw Tyler earlier today in her round 3 matchup where she finished second under Joanne Defay. She had a quick chat with shaper Matt Biolas, who just flew into town. He's busy, he was in Japan, now he's here shaping boards, and they had a quick chat. First, let's get into Courtney's last win.
Yeah, Courtney jamming that turn right there. I think the wave kind of went a bit slopey. I think that tide's starting to affect it. I think she was waiting for that wave to stand up, and it didn't. It kind of had a little bit of a wobble in it. Went a little fat for her, and unfortunately that maneuver not coming off. So that's really the tricky thing right now with that tide rushing in. These young ladies are going to have to be on their game. They've got to realize and identify the good ones. Make sure you come off the bottom quick. Get those couple of turns before it hits that fat section.
So the rematch from the final last year continues to go blow for blow. Both Tyler and Courtney into the 7 range in round 4, heat number 1, and still 10:45 remaining in this heat. You're watching round 4, heat number 1 of the Roxy Pro. Only have one more stop after this on the Samsung Galaxy Championship Tour. A lot of great fans from right here in Hossegor. It's a cool little beachside town that knows that this beach break can come to life to offer stand-up barrels, big rippable sections. Today on this fuller tide, it's all about performance on the open face. We've got two of the best in the business going blow for blow. These two have a lot of history. But right now, Courtney Conlogue has a lot on the line as she's going for her first world title. We haven't seen a world title for the continental United States for a long time. You think about Lisa Anderson and her dominance in the mid-90s. It's kind of interesting when you think about those eras pots. Lisa going 4 straights. Then it was Lane Beachley going 6 straights. Eventually ended up with 7 world titles. But it was just a couple names that would just take over the world tour. They didn't have as many rivals as we do today on the top 17. We watch a little wave setting up now for Tyler Wright. Still looking for a 5.77. A lot of open face. There's that little layback jam to start. Now big rip in the open face. Right now looks to throw that highline wrap into the pocket. Now it's just trimming through the inside corner. She'll sneak in a forehand wrap. Turns around to see Courtney's attempt. Courtney a little stumble. She'll just reset with a little fade into the pocket. Now looking to really perform on the inside. She'll just redirect and kick her way out of there. We'll find out if conlogue had anything major on the opening section. 8 minutes to go. Tyler looked solid on that last wave to try to take the lead.
Very solid, Joe, and I think that 5.77, that's a no-brainer. But it all depends really on what Courtney did. Did Courtney better her situation? You know, looking to replace a 5.33. Let's have a look. Tyler Wright draws off the bottom here, jams it in the pocket right there. Didn't quite extend that back leg. This turn right there, that was the money shot right there for Tyler. And again, that big wraparound cut back into the whitewater. So 3 strong turns for Tyler Wright, and then finishes off with some rail work, maximises the scoring potential. So Tyler Wright really opening up. Courtney conlogue, big turn off the top as well. Big bottom turn into that slicing maneuver. Super strong on her feet, and then this wave kind of went that little wobble right there. A lot of backwash starting to affect the wave. And both Courtney and Tyler have got to be well aware of that. All the damage has got to be done before that inside section, Joe.
So we see Courtney now paddling out just inside of Tyler Wright. Tyler looks like she's safe to gain priority. We do have our own Chelsea Cannell, who just hung out in the Courtney conlogue camp. How'd it go down there, Chelsea?
That's right, Joe. I was able to sneak in a moment with Tracy, Courtney's mom, and Chris Hefner from Billabong, and just ask them where her headspace was. And they basically said that with the title race going to Maui, they're really trying to focus on just going heat by heat and really keep her mind in this particular event. They're not worried about the world title right now. They just want her to focus on this particular heat. I said, is there anything that you guys did differently to prepare? We're going up against Tyler, obviously, with the final last year. They said, you know what, we didn't even talk about that. We're not focused on that. And Tracy said, quite frankly, I had forgotten about that until you mentioned it. So that's not something that they're concerned about at all. I also asked them about equipment changes, because we know that they've been playing with equipment throughout the various different events. They said, you know what, this particular event, they decided not to do that. They want her to have a comfort level with her boards and just be able to sort of keep some things the same for her. So they didn't make any changes on that end at all, and they're really just trying to focus on keeping her mind in this particular event and not worrying about the world title race. Now, you remember, I also caught up with Tyler this morning, who said she is ready to go after a world title, that's where her mind is, and you know, things have really changed for her emotionally and mentally throughout this season particularly. So we know that she's going to lay it all out on the line out there. She is a different person in terms of a competitive mind frame, and I'm sure we're going to see that throughout the rest of this heat as it winds down.
Thank you, Chelsea. Epic information on these two battling back and forth in a huge heat for Courtney conlogue to survive and hang on to world number 1. As now we hit the 5-minute warning. Tyler Wright just got a lead change from that last effort. Now a 14.8 combined total out front to Courtney's 14.6. Tyler took out Courtney in the final last season. Much different role now. Talking about Tyler's commitment to world titles now. She's focused, doesn't like feeling out of the mix. And right now, she's putting pressure on world number 1 with 4:50 to go.
Yeah, a lot of pressure, Joe. A lot of pressure. Courtney conlogue, well, she got wave number 2 in that set, and it kind of was a little fatter. Tyler's wave stood up, allowed her 3 solid turns, hence that 7.73. That was a strong score there from Tyler. Courtney came back with a 7.10 right behind it, but the 2-wave total right now, look how close it is. 14.80 to 14.60. Tyler Wright takes the lead with 4 minutes to go, and she has priority, so things starting to look a little scary right now for Courtney. She really needs to make it through this heat to really keep in touch with Carissa, and you think Carissa already there in the quarterfinals. If she makes the semis, she gets the yellow jersey back, Joe.
What a radical world title race. The yellow jersey changing hands a couple times this season. We saw Courtney's roll from taking a big win at Margaret River, was able to back it up at the Oi Rio Pro. It was the first time she ever won 2 majors in a single season. Then all of a sudden went down to Portugal, took out the event in Cascais, was able to get the yellow jersey back, but now could potentially change hands. 3:30 to go. Tyler does have priority and will take this wave off Courtney. A lot of speed to start. Now looking for that layback jam one more time. Handles it through the backwash. Nice tight high line carve. A lot of water moving out front. She'll get a quick arc and then falls on the rebound section on the inside. You can already see The next heat preparing, Steph Gilmore taking on Sage Erikson. That was a wild ride. I'm really impressed Tyler hung on to that first turn, Fonz.
Yeah, well, that's just her ability. She used every ounce of that to try and pull that wave off. Big snapping turn to kick things off. Kind of mixed it up with that really tight snap in the pocket as well. So Tyler Wright starting to build some confidence. Let's have a look at this wave right here. Opens up with a beautiful layback gouging maneuver. I love this turn right here. She snaps it all the way back around. Puts herself right in that power source. Look at the bump and lump on the face of the wave there. That tide starting to really affect this wave and make things a little trickier. So Tyler Wright trying to improve on a 7.07. Really wanting to push it out to something excellent required by Courtney, who at the moment is looking for a 7.31. Just over 2 minutes to go. Courtney with priority now. Probably the most important 2 minutes of Courtney's career right now.
Pressure on the Californian. We mentioned it's been a while since someone's won from the USA. It's been since the early 80s since a Californian's taken a world title on the women's side. Kim Merrick from Santa Barbara won back in the early 80s. Courtney's always had this goal.
Frida Zamba
from
she had multiple
Florida.
Florida, yeah. Multiple world titles. It's kind of funny that how it works. You know, Wendy both the same thing, 4 world titles. Seems like one of the women just get on a roll and just dominate. You know, Steph Gilmore's done exactly the same. Carissa's got 2. It's always multiple winners. There's very few single champs.
Yeah, it seemed like that was a common theme. And now we're getting to see so many world title contenders. That's what's made the last couple of years so exciting. And think about a year for Stephanie Gilmore being healthy from start to finish. That just adds another name into the mix. Scores in now from last of Tyler Wright, even with all the bumps on the face, and she turns in a 7.17. Just improves a touch on her lead out front. Conlogue needs a 7.41 now. Courtney does have priority, and we're into the final minute.
Yes, a little bit of stress right now. Courtney, you can tell, just trying to visualize a wave popping up. Trying to pull a Tom Curran right now. Just make that happen. Mick Fanning, 16 seconds remaining. He got a wave. She's thinking, why not me? Come on, where's the sets? Ocean's looking a little quiet right now. And it looks like Tyler Wright is going to upset that world title race, Joe.
30 seconds on the clock, just watching Chris Hefner and Tracy Conlogue. Straight face, just looking at the situation that will be unfolding. Now it's going to be out of their hands. Carissa Moore still in the quarterfinals. She has to get through that heat before she can be wearing the yellow jersey, heading into Honolulu Bay. Courtney just coming off a huge win. And that win over Lakey Peterson about a week ago down in Cascais. And now losing in the round before the quarters to a longtime rival in Tyler Wright. As the results repeat themselves from last year's Roxy Pro. That time it was a final, and Tyler will move into the quarters to take on Joanne Defay once again here in France. Quick congratulations from Courtney to Tyler, as she's going to take this one in out in the lineup. We'll see what this is going to do for our world title race in 2015.
Yeah, all I can say is wow. Courtney Conlogue's going to have to come out guns blazing and win Maui, because that's what it's going to have to take to stop Carissa Moore. Just looking at Carissa's situation, she's in Heat 3 of the quarterfinals. She'll come up against the winner out of Nikki Van Dijk or Dimity Stoyle. If she makes that semi, she will get the yellow jersey. Familiar territory for her, so it's going to be tough for Courtney.
Crazy calling that one an upset to Tyler, just as far as seeding's concerned, back to 7th in the world, but we know that she's been runner-up a few times, and in world title races, that layback dagger takes out world number 1, Courtney Conlogue. More action to come here at the Roxy Pro after this.
I'm looking at Stephanie Gilmore coming with this one pretty deep though. The girls seeing a wee biscuit usually on that little exchange. As we see this conlogue to the lead. And a huge third. Watch out, people. Commiserations there to Courtney. Well served, all of them. Unfortunately, coming up just short there.
Courtney Conlogue just coming into the beach after a tough loss to Tyler Wright, wearing the Jeep yellow jersey, #1 in the world. She'll stay #1 in the world unless Carissa Moore can move on into the semifinals. Knows how close this title race is. It's the first time she's really been in one. She's taken the lead a few times, but losing the round before in the quarters, a place that you finaled in the past, is going to be a tough one to move on from. As Tyler moves on to the quarterfinals, now Courtney just has to sit back and watch and root for everybody that Carissa Moore is going to be coming up against.
You know, I always knew it was going to come down to who got the right waves, because that's exactly what happened. It was lucky dip, and that's the next heat out in the water right now. Steph Gilmore up against Sage Erikson. And talking about that heat with Courtney and Tyler Wright, it's almost like Courtney was out of rhythm with the good ones. Tyler managed to get herself on a couple of good waves and really fight for those scores. It wasn't easy, but Tyler managing to upset that world title race. Courtney Conlogue's a fighter though, Joe. She's not going to give up.
That's right, a brand new heat on paper now. Sage Erikson, we mentioned how she's on top of the qualifying series, #1, tied with Tatiana Weston-Webb, so she's safe for next season. She's on the back end of the rankings for this series on the championship tour, so she's looking to get into the quarterfinals, a place that she doesn't find herself in too often. So just trying to create a big moment, try to beat one of the best of all time in Stephanie Gilmore. Gilmore is going to take the first wave of the matchup. It's a stylish little rail carve in the pocket, just a quick fade, and that wave's already getting full. She's out. Sage had a quick 2-1-7 before that, and that's Gilmore's best wave so far.
Yeah, you've got two ways to approach the wave at the moment. I think you know, maybe look at focusing on one big, massive turn, or try and get two quick ones in there, because it is breaking closer and closer to the beach, not offering these young ladies too much open face to work with. So, got to try and make sure you've got priority when the good ones come through.
And kind of a fun stat for Sage, undefeated so far in her career, just with one win over Stephanie Gilmore. And she'll try to keep it that way with a little front side hook in the pocket. Sets her rail, just a quick fade. Ton of whip in that last off the top. Wave staying really full in the face, and she'll get out of there. 2-1-7 start for Sage Erikson, and that'll be her second scoring ride. Gilmore opens with a 3.83. So interesting, adapting on the spot with this really full tide. Doesn't really give you too many options as far as a lip to hit off the top.
Yeah, we're not gonna see too many vertical maneuvers. We saw that last heat, both Courtney and Tyler Wright opting for those more horizontal sort of slashes. Here we go, Sage off the bottom. That's nice right there. Almost got bounced off by the white water. Regathers and then opts for a couple of nice little wraparound cutbacks, bouncing off the white water nicely there. 5.0 for Sage Erikson. Well, that's what she's got to do. Just keep cranking up the heat.
Checking out Steph's form as well, Potts.
Yeah, Steph Gilmore off the bottom. You know, you talk about power, you know, and Steph's name, you know, you never really mention Steph, but the way she times her maneuvers and the position that she gets her board in, she's sneaky powerful too. I mean, there's a lot of spray being thrown through the air when Steph does those big, powerful carving maneuvers. She's got that double-handed layback, sort of the Matt Hoy layback that she adopts to her style. Steph throws some buckets too, by the way.
Well, style is such a huge topic in pro surfing. It always has been. Everyone has their favorite styles, the ones they looked up to. When you kind of look at the dominant surfers on the women's side, you kind of favor Gilmore's style, how graceful she is on really demanding waves as well. She never has a bad-looking turn. Her arms always look perfect. She got barreled the other day. It was like a 2-foot barrel, and she was putting her arms behind her back.
Styling.
Makes it so clean. Is style something that you need to work on, or is it something that you're born with?
I think it's something you're born with, but you can sort of better your style, so to speak. I think you can, back in my day, there wasn't much opportunity to sit back and watch how you surf. In this day and age, these guys and girls always get their sessions filmed. They go home and they watch it and they learn by their mistakes. So you can actually learn where to put your hands and how to, Steph never used to do that double-handed layback, but she sort of perfected it. You watch Adriana de Souza. I watched him one day, practicing the rail grab backhand bottom turn, for the first time. And there's stuff like that you can learn. But I think if you're born with a certain style, I think it's, like John's unique. I don't think he tries to surf like that. I think that's just him.
Always interesting to see who's coming up next with a brand new style we've never seen before. Erikson from California, from right near that Ventura zone, from Ojai, surfs a lot of amazing right-hand points. C Street, a real popular one, Rincon. We talked about Hawaiian. It's kind of making a serious presence on the women's tour, but also this Californian resurgence, Sage, Lakey, Courtney, and obviously with Courtney #1 in the world, all of them just grew up competing against each other every single weekend. Were always having big names in the amateur circles and made their dream to become one of the best surfers in the world. Erikson out of that pack had to have the hard time of falling off tour and coming back. Sometimes surfer falls off in their first season and you'll never see him again.
Yeah.
She's gotten better since that first year on tour.
Andy did it, came back and won a world title, so it's not a bad thing. Judson's done it, came back bigger and better and stronger. I think it's not bad to sort of, get knocked off, take a step back, realize, hang on a sec, this is something I love to do. You really work hard to get yourself back on tour, and when you do, you're going to make sure that you capitalize on that.
That's right. Well, Sage Erikson is also signed up for the Micro Surf Academy, along with Matt Wilkinson. Glenn Micro Hall still on tour, the top 34, but he'll take the time to have a couple of words with Sage. He spent some time working with her on heat strategy in Southern California in between events. So definitely has a game plan for this really high tide matchup against Stephanie Gilmore. Remember that one win we talked about, Sage over Gilmore, in just their only previous one-on-one heat. It was back at the U.S. Open of Surfing a couple of years ago in a round 4 matchup. So they meet again in the same round. But what a crazy feeling, watching Sage just look out the back and try not to let the presence of Stephanie Gilmore get in her head. She just walks into the competitors area, and even though she's smiling, it can be very intimidating if you have to find a way to beat her.
Yes, exactly. One of the best ever. Yeah, you got to figure that the oceans are the great equalizer. You've got to figure that with how unpredictable Mother Nature can be, you've always got to figure you're in there with a shot. So if you've done all the homework, done all the hard work, got yourself where you need to be, I think that goes a long way.
Well, Gilmore and Sage still going head-to-head. Erikson turned in a 5.0 on her last. Has a lead. Gilmore just needs a 3.35. Winner of this heat will move on to have a matchup with Coco Ho. Coco has been on fire, taking a couple big wins in the 3-woman heats to skip all these scary rounds. The big decision for Coco is to ride a bigger board on the bigger day, bigger fins, and bigger scores are coming her way.
Exactly right. A little bit more foam. Just making your turns a little bigger, a little better, a little stronger. Every little bit helps, and I think that's what these professionals do. You've got to keep looking to ways to perfect your trade. And if there's any weakness in your game, you've got to work on that and make it better, make it a more of a complete package. Whether it's charging in big waves, tube riding, whether your equipment's lacking, it's all these little things you've got to work on.
So true. Looking at a little wave popping up. Priority is with Stephanie Gilmore. They'll hold back, and you'll see how that little wave will run through this high tide. Still 18:45 to go. Gilmore injuring herself back at Margaret River just in a free surf session. Ended up staying out of the jersey for longer than she expected. She was kind of day by day before Fiji got underway. Wanted to come back for lowers, the U.S. Open before that. She actually gave us the guarantee back in Fiji that she would be back. Checked in with the doctor, wasn't the best idea. And now finally making her come back to the tour, the second last event of the season. Close battle in that second round that she had to deal with. Wasn't able to win the round 3 matchup. Now puts her in round 4 again. Just seeing that, can you critique her form off just these having to deal with every single round of the contest?
Not really. I mean, I don't mind it. I think that, if you've got to surf extra, it's just giving you another opportunity to get used to the playing field, another opportunity to work out your board. Steph Gilmore, currently ranked number 11. She's 9 years on tour, 6 world titles, and pretty high percentage there. Average heat score 14 points, 71% winning percentage. So that's equals wins equals world titles. So she's definitely put her name down as one of the best ever.
Insane to watch. 24 CT wins in Gilmore's career. Now making a move using priority will be Stephanie Gilmore, needing a 3.35. Nice down carve to set up the oncoming section. Jams it perfectly off the lip. She's in the lead. Layback hook under the lip. Now Sage on the answer behind her, but a little bit too deep. Sage will be in a decent position to regain priority, but Gilmore definitely getting a lead change.
3.35 required by Stephanie Gilmore. You could bet your house on it that that's going to be better than that.
Now let's hear from Tyler Wright with Strider Wasilewski.
Thanks, Joe. Yeah, Tyler Wright coming through that heat. The tide didn't kill the waves. There was definitely plenty of surf in your heat.
Yeah, I kind of walking down this morning and I thought, high tide, it's definitely going to die. But it's kind of the swell's stuck in. It stayed around. It hasn't dropped at all, if not picked up, I think, from this morning. So, very contestable, a little bit tricky, a lot of chatter and bump on the face of the waves, especially on the bigger ones. But I was pretty stoked to get through that one.
As far as wave quality goes, watching the heat, it looked like Courtney actually caught the better waves in the heat, but she wasn't able to execute.
Yeah, every time I caught a wave, I turned around and saw Courtney on one, and I was just freaking, just going, freak, she's probably just got a 9. And that's like the quality of wave that it looked like she had. And, when she turned around and had some 7s, I was like, oh, how interesting. I wonder, what happened. But being in her situation, I've been there before, and, as much as you deny it, there is a whole ton of pressure. And especially Courtney's never really been in that position before, so she's just doing the best she can. And sometimes it is hard. The nerves do get the better of you, or, you just feel a certain weight on your shoulders, and that is to perform. And sometimes, that pressure's just too much, and you can crack a little bit. But, Courtney, she'll bounce back in Maui. I know that for sure. She's super strong. And, that's just her mentality. So,
well, there you have it. Congratulations on moving through. Can't wait to see you in the next round, and we'll hope for more waves soon.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, back to you guys.
Thanks, Strider and Tyler Wright. And she has been feeling pressure in these world title campaigns the last couple of years. Every time we asked her last 2 seasons, she was always happy-go-lucky. It was great to get insight. She knows that feeling, what Courtney's going through, and that was a huge win. We'll see how big that win is throughout this contest as far as the world title race is concerned. Sage got a wave during the interview, Potts.
Yeah, a couple of beautiful turns there from Sage Erikson. She's going to need a big score because Steph's going to drop a bomb on her. Sage, a couple of nice turns to kick things off. Beautiful opening maneuver right there. Draws off the bottom again. Nice, powerful, clean rail surfing. You heard Tyler say how the bigger ones are tricky. A lot of chatter, a lot of bump and backwash. Sage almost losing it right there. And we'll wait for that score to come in. Steph got one as well while we're at that interview. And, we talk about how, she's got that graceful style, but she threw a little bit of power into those maneuvers as well. I think Steph's timing is what, to me, is the most impressive thing. The choice of maneuvers as well. Watch this turn right here. Beautiful snap right there. Draws off the bottom. And right there, the perfect timing. She just connects exactly where she needs to. And again right there, just a layback gaff. So 3 solid turns from Stephanie Gilmore. That rust is starting to subside. She's starting to look a little bit like the old Steph that we know. Right here, jamming it in the pocket right there. 3 solid turns, variety of repertoire, and a big score dropping for Stephanie Gilmore. See the timing right there, Joe. Look how much spray is flying through the air. You get that from having a lot of speed and just making sure you connect exactly when you need to. speed, power, and flow equates to big points.
8.77 from Stephanie Gilmore's third wave. A couple of 9s locked in from the panel, but she wants more at the 13-minute mark. Just a quick up and out. Erikson had the 5 on her second wave, and she'll improve to a 6.67 on her fourth attempt, and more waves coming through for the Californian. Sage will wind up off the bottom. Big rip in the pocket. Coming out in front. Nice wrap. Erikson into a softer section, but still finds a way to jam it on that inside corner. Steph wants the next wave. Gilmore, clean bottom turn. Nice wrap right in front of Erikson. Springs into this forehand wrap, and she'll hop out right in front of Erikson to regain priority.
Oh, how was that? Just watch my wave, and then I'm going to kick out before you and race back out and get priority. So Sage with a 6.67, looking for a 5.94. I reckon she's going to get it on that last exchange, Joe. That was a good wave from Sage Erikson. Some really solid turns from her. Draws off the bottom and right there connects perfectly. That's what you got to do against Steph. Unloading another one, just cracking it right in the power source. Showing some pizzazz, cranked it up a little bit right there. And then right behind her, Steph Gilmore. Out on the open face, that beautiful elongated maneuver right there. She just holds that rail, brings that board all the way around, and then decides to kick out in front of Sage, knowing that that's not going to go into her top 2. She needs another one. So Steph Gilmore, she probably will better that 3.83. Sage is looking for a 5.94, maybe a little bit more once Steph scores locked in.
What a great battle here in round 4, heat number 2. Sage Erikson putting pressure on the 6-time world champ by increasing on her score line, a 5, then a 6.67. Steph Gilmore with her last was just trying to better a 3.83. You can see the race for priority, how it continues. Sage still working hard to pass Gilmore. The paddle remains intense until they get a message from the beach announcer, relayed from the head judge on when they're going to hand over priority. So you'll see Sage still paddling hard for that.
Wow. Sage tracked her down on that one. Just put her head down and dug in deep, and still no priority. Can hear the beach commentary. Sage Erikson still putting in the big ones.
And she gets it.
And she gets it. Wow, crucial.
Sage put her head down. Steph Gilmore kicked out in front of her. Had the lead to start, and Sage didn't give up. Passes her and gets priority with 10:25 to go. Now the big message will be, what did Erikson get on her last score?
Yeah.
We break down a lot of different aspects of pro surfing pods with performance, airs, maneuvers, all the exciting things. Then there's sometimes just who's the better paddler on tour. You always hear about some guys from the old days, guys like Wes Lane, who can out-paddle anybody.
Yeah. I mean, there's certain guys that you don't really even, try and compete against when it comes to the paddle race. But, in a sense, you give it a go, because what you're doing is you're pushing your opponent. You're making them use a bit of energy as well. And if you've done all the hard work, if you're fit, that paddle back out's not going to hinder you too much. If your opponent hasn't, it's going to take a bit of wind out of his sails. And then he's got to turn around and try and surf that next wave as hard as he can. So, that fatigue factor can come into play.
Well, we do have Rosie Hodge, former CT competitor, in the lineup. How did that paddle battle look from your angle, Rosie?
That was so interesting. I mean, just the fact that Steph had kicked off before Sage, and there was that little bit of a gap. And then at the end there, Steph just pretty much stopped paddling and let Sage go through. So I don't know if it was kind of a tactic. I mean, Steph hates to hassle, but it's almost like, hey, if you want a shot at it, have a go. I mean, Steph's all about surfing waves and not about the paddle battle, but that was pretty interesting.
Well, Rosie, back when you were on tour, was that an aspect of winning heats that you would be aware of? Who could out-paddle each other? Were there certain surfers that would always win those races?
Oh my gosh, yeah, for sure. Especially somewhere like Honolulu Bay, you'd get those sets, those two-wave sets that would come through, and you'd be racing out for priority. I think Lane Beachy was always pretty scary in those moments. But I mean, Sally Fitzgibbons, one that's pretty much always going to win a paddle battle. But I think that was so interesting between Sage and Steph. Maybe, a bit of Steph tactics coming into play too. She's so, I don't know, can get in your mind space just by letting you win a paddle battle by being like, hey, you want to crack at it? Go ahead.
Well, Rosie, we don't see Sage in a lot of events towards the later part of the draw on the CT level. She just got a 7-6 and took the lead off Gilmore. What are you liking out of Sage Erikson's performance?
I just think Sage is surfing with the freedom that is just allowing her, to just shed any pressure. And I think she's got a lot of aggression too. She hasn't had the big results, but that doesn't mean that her surfing hasn't been amazing. And I think now she's found that little extra level, and she's just opening up. And like you mentioned, she's in the lead in this heat.
Nicely done. Thanks, Rosie. We're watching a little ride for Stephanie Gilmore setting up. She already has a ton of speed. There's a lot of chop on this wave, and she'll go down immediately. This tide still increasing and filling in, swamping out the lineup. It had a ton of chatter, and she's down. Last wave for Gilmore, a 4.57. That was the wave she kicked out right in front of Sage. Didn't get first priority. Erikson got the 7-6, the lead priority. 7:30 to go to see if she can move on into the quarterfinals.
Nervous moments right now. 7 minutes and 20 seconds to go. Sage Erikson's got to keep bettering her situation. 6.67, wave number 2. Next time Sage rolls the dice, she's got to better that score. Just keep pushing that requirement further and further out, making Steph have to earn that score. 5.50 right now. That's an easy get for Steph. So Sage has got to play a very smart next sort of 5 to 6 minutes and make sure that when she catches this next set, using her priority correctly, make sure she's on a bomb and drop another big score.
Steph Gilmore needing a 5.5 on her return to the jersey. We mentioned how she's outside of qualification on the championship tour just by 1 spot. She made back-to-back finals, and even with missing the majority of the season, she was just 1 spot out. So we're going to watch to see if she moves inside the top 10. 10th right now is Nikki Van Dijk. She's not too worried about that. She's a double qualifier. She's done well in the QS. There's something, for athletes to finish in the top 10, to requalify on the top level tour. That's the goal on hand for the top 17.
Oh, absolutely right. Once you're on the world tour, that's where you want to live. That's your stomping grounds. That's you want to get your good results there. You want to requalify through that. You don't get good results on the WCT. You've got to back yourself up on the QS. That just means extra time away, more time on the road, more time in airplanes, airports, hotels. So the ultimate real goal for all these guys and girls are to make sure that you qualify through the WCT, i.e. the top 22 on the men and the top 10 on the women. Top 10 though, there's not many places up for grabs, so it is a very hotly contested part of the tour.
Well, this is a big matchup. 5:30 remaining, and fans want to get really close to the action. We have Chelsea Cannell down there in the VIP area. Chelsea, how much does it cost to sit down there right on the sand to watch the world's best?
That's the best part, Joe. It's completely free. And this is a dog-friendly beach, so there's tons of dogs as well. Everybody's been out here all day long. It's pretty impressive with this particular venue because people don't seem to leave. Even when we went on hold yesterday for 2 hours, people just hung out throughout. They packed a lunch. They had a picnic. They brought their four-legged furry friends, their kids. Kids are making, building sandcastles. And even when they all get drenched by the waves, which just happened about a second ago, nobody seems to move. They're willing to take the chance to be this close to their favorite surfers, and that's pretty incredible. And then the golf claps that we see after each and every move. It's a very classy crowd down here.
Really liking that. Thanks so much, Chelsea. It looks like the place to be, watching all the key moments. Remember, the finishing moves are right on the sand, so you're so close to your heroes, especially when a world title's on the line this far back in the season. That's why we love coming to Europe. Some of the finest beach breaks in the world. And we've seen multiple faces through the last couple of days. Gilmore now chooses her backhand to try to steal this one off Sage. Backhand carve, quick off the top. She has a lot of momentum, and she'll just redirect. It's not giving her a lip to hit, so she has to step out of there. 4:10 to go, needs a 5-5. Didn't have priority and checked out of left putts.
Nervous moments, it's almost like Steph's got that ability, like world champions do, to be able to catch a mediocre wave and produce scores. So it's going to be a nervous couple of moments for Sage Erikson. Is Steph going to get that score? 5.50 required. Was it better than that last right-hander she got before she kicked out in front of Sage? Score's starting to drop now for it. There it is, 4.77. So Steph back to the drawing board. She's now right on the inside with 3.5 to go. Sage Erikson hanging on to that priority. Nerves of steel right there to let Steph go on that wave.
It's a big moment for Stephanie Gilmore, just coming back to the Jersey. She's got a lot of family out here in Europe. She's got a sister that lives out here, and then her sister Whitney that travels with her. Also well supported by Roxy team manager Holly Monkman, who used to compete way back in the day. She even had a heat back at Honolulu Bay when they're just bringing that stop on tour. Always had the dream of making it the Dream Tour, and Gilmore dominated all the stops on tour. She had a couple seasons which would end short, kind of in the summertime in California as the season finale. Now we have Maui back on the calendar, which is one of Stephanie Gilmore's pet events. You know, she came on as a rookie. She was able to dominate that. You almost guarantee she's going to make the final. That's why it was a bit rare last year when she was knocked out in the quarters by Courtney Conlogue. Now under pressure in a different theme this season, acting as spoiler. 2:30 though, and she still needs a 5.5.
You know, it's Steph's comeback event, and I think she's looking pretty sharp for not having put the jersey on for 6 months. It's amazing for her to be able to do that. So I think once she gets to Maui, she's going to definitely want to try and win that thing, because that's what competitors do. You're not just going there to make up the numbers. You're going there to do well. You're going there to compete and win, perform at your best. And Steph Gilmore is a perfectionist. That's why she's waited so long to come back, just to make sure that she is back at 100%. Waiting for that all clear, which she got here, and surfed pretty good, by the way.
As we remember the Target Maui Pro, the next stop, the final stop of the season for the best women in the world. Gliding in, just needing a 5.5 is Gilmore. Just a little draw off the top, needs a little bit more. And you can see her body language, didn't like how that one felt on the inside corner. She's down to 1:30. Sage will just step off. She's pretty far out the back, so she'll regain priority heading into the final minute. Remember, we were talking about Gilmore upsetting Courtney with just 10 seconds on the clock in the past. Saw what Fanning did to Husino with just a few seconds, just with one wave. Gilmore fits that same situation into the final minute, and not needing an excellent range score. That's a lot of time for a 6-time world champion.
Yes, you know, and it's the longest 5 minutes of Sage Erikson's life right now. This is a quarterfinal. Looks like Steph's kind of giving it to her. Sage paddling back out, Steph deciding to call it quits. So Sage Erikson moving through and keeping her run against Steph Gilmore well and truly intact, Joe. We're going to have a very happy Sage Erikson come the end of this heat.
That's right, 2-0. It's official.
Wow.
Erikson took her out in Huntington, and now here in Fun Waves in Hossegor. Looks like Sage will be moving on to the quarterfinals to take on Coco Ho. A credible run for Sage, and a much different feeling than she's accustomed to. Sometimes she comes to the back end of the season under pressure to perform. She has her spot safe on tour for next season, since she dominated that QS event in El Salvador, a long right-hander to show her strengths. She grew up on right-hand point breaks, and getting key venues like that on the QS is a big goal for the WSL as well. They got epic surf for it, and Sage really got to showcase what she's capable of.
You know, I'd like to see Sage compete like this all the time. I mean, as soon as she realized that she was clear for next year, back on tour again, it was a different Sage Erikson. I mean, surfing at Trestles, she just cranked it up. You know, here again as well, surfing incredibly well. Finds herself in the quarterfinals. Great result for her. So I'm looking forward to seeing more of that from her.
14.27 total for the Californian. Sage Erikson takes out 6-time world champ, former Roxy Pro champ Stephanie Gilmore, as round 4 continues. Nikki Van Dijk's coming up next to take on Dimity Stoyle. We'll bring in Ronnie Blakey and Ross Williams for the call right after this.
Erikson to the quarterfinals.
Welcome back to the Roxy Pro Heat 3 of round 4, hitting the lineup now with Dimity Stoyle taking on Nikki Van Dijk. An important event for Dimity Stoyle. She needs a huge result to propel herself into the top 10 and give herself a chance at requalifying for the CT in 2016. Nikki Van Dijk, she's safe on the QS, but she's inside that top 10. She could double qualify with a strong finish here. She'll need to get into the quarters in order to do that. The winner of this heat's going to be taking on Carissa Moore. So a tough road ahead for whoever progresses. Carissa, one of the standout performers in the contest so far. Great wave, still firing. Ronnie Blakey joined by former championship tour competitor Ross Williams. Ross, some interesting quarterfinals established in the top half of the draw in the Roxy Pro.
Yeah, very interesting. Joanne DeFay and Tyler Wright, Coco Ho and Sage, and here we go.
Well, this is Nikki Van Dijk. Drives off the bottom. Strong first turn. Still a bit of size in the surf out here at the moment. But that high tide is playing a part in flattening out these walls. As Dimity Stoyle looks to put a big number on the board here. Bit of foam on the face, but so far Dimity dealing with it pretty well. She's been surfing extremely well throughout these past couple of events. Didn't get the result that she really wanted down in Portugal. But before that, a semi-final finish at Trestles. And you just know if someone's collecting a good result at Trestles, they're in good form. They must be doing some good surfing, because really it's just such a perfect wave and a really good stage to demonstrate your rail game.
It's so true. I think of lowers as the litmus test to a heat check, where you are with your equipment, your surfing, your abilities. You know, it's also a place that will reveal you if you're not surfing very well. You know, lowers is an easy place to kind of surf bad, believe it or not. And Nikki Van Dijk first up here. I love that first turn. And you know, out here right now with this tide getting really full, it's a total bonus to get a section that's steep where you can nail a lip. So, you know, wave selection is going to be huge. It's really going to make the difference between these two. And Dimity, a little stronger. She gets that rail in the water so nice. Very clean rail surfing. I love the way she can carve it up. So I'd give her the nod in terms of who's maybe stronger right now coming into this heat.
25 minutes remaining in this one. We've been talking a little bit about Nikki Van Dijk's magic run in the past 4 events. She's made the quarters with the last 4 stops. It's got her in 10th position on the ratings. But she needs to get a little bit higher. It's a good chance she'll overtake Malia Manuel, who was out of the contest and was just ahead of her in 9th place. Not too much head-to-head history between these two competitors. Nikki Van Dijk with the nod.
So, you know, it's big. This is the second to the last event. And, you know, there's a lot of pressure on these women to get the results they need to qualify. They need to keep their job. This is the dream tour. They want to be back here next year.
Well, Nikki Van Dijk in 2014 finished 13th on the WCT. She saved her spot on the tour for this year with a big performance on the QS last season. And she's done that again this year. She had a major win over at the Los Cabos Open. And she is sweet. But she definitely, in her second year, will want to get it done as a CT competitor. And what that will mean is on the QS, the number will drop back. We'll see the number 7 surfer get into the mix as well.
So many implications. You know, it's so interesting to do the math, grind the numbers. You know, a lot of these competitors go home at night and stare at their laptop, trying to figure it out.
So Dimity Stoyle, 24 years of age, currently in 15th spot, needs to make a solid jump up the ratings. She's done well already. to get herself here to round 4. But she can't slip up just yet.
Yeah, she needs to go big, you know, make the finals really. She's pretty far down there.
Such a cool story too, Dimity Stoyle, Ross. She actually has a lot of experience in the shaping bay. She's shaped a few boards for herself, but typically you see her on a JS. And well, she's had a good one under her feet the last couple of events.
Yeah, she's such a sweetheart too. She's probably one of the most likable characters on tour, both men and women. So friendly.
Definitely. I think if Nikki Van Dijk wasn't in this heat, she'd probably be cheering Dimity on, hoping that she can get a big result and save her spot on the tour. She got fortunate last year too. No injuries, and really it's almost a similar scenario this year. There's only one surfer that's missed events due to injury, and that's Stephanie Gilmore. She's missed 5 contests. Did come into this event in 11th position, and potentially with a strong finish over in Maui, Steph could climb up into the top 10. But Dimity Stoyle, last season, she was the benefactor of no injury wildcards being awarded. She was in 11th position. She surfed so well throughout the year that they actually gave her the nod and gave her the WSL wildcard coming into this season. But here we go, Nikki Van Dijk up again, a 4.5 on her first ride. Bit mistimed that first manoeuvre. And the second is sort of the same. Nikki can turn this into a decent number if she gets the inside connection, but she doesn't. She kicks out. Stoyle now finding a bit of cover on the outside. Needs some rail work too to push the score a little bit higher. Drives up into the lip and the wave fades away. Potentially could have kicked out there before Nikki and got a wriggle on back to the takeoff zone to get priority, but opted for that last manoeuvre. Don't know if there was too many points in that last turn.
Yeah, I think, you know, she was just, you know, she knew that she got a nice little barrel, but those aren't huge point getters. So she was trying to rip into one more maneuver to get that number. I think she made the right decision. See this high tide, there is a lot of backwash. That's making that wave kind of bounce up and down. Pretty decent little barrel though. Just got a little bobble on that first turn that kind of threw her off her game. Tried to rip into one more turn. Decent little cutback. It will make a difference. Nikki Van Dijk, though, she got to hit the lip, and that's always a bonus right there. You know, I know it was a little off balance, and a second one again. So being involved with that lip line twice, that, you know, we said it at the start of this heat, with the tide being this high, you know, that wave premium is going to go a long way with scores.
Just over 20 minutes remaining, waiting on numbers to drop. It looks like there's definitely some reverb out there and some lumps for these women to deal with. Rosie, you're in the lineup. How's it look from your end?
Yeah, definitely, Ronnie. There's a lot to contend with, and just looking at the way that Dimity set up for that barrel, you watch that kind of backwash hit that wave, and it was pretty Houdini and crazy that she's able to maintain, you know, her stance on her board and bring it around for a couple extra maneuvers. A great exchange from Nikki and from Dimity, but you know, Dimity, there's so much on the line for her in this heat. You think about requalification and her goals and what she wants to achieve to stay on the Dream Tour. She'd be looking at this heat and really wanting it to get through to the quarterfinals, because that's where the points start to stack up and you see yourself climbing up the rankings.
Definitely, and you know, Dimity hasn't had a great campaign on the QS this year. She had an alright result at the start of the year. She had a win at Burleigh in a low-rated QS event, but she's back in 21st position, and with only one QS 1500 left, she's no chance of requalifying via the QS.
Exactly. She even said, you know, she wanted to put her focus onto the Women's World Championship Tour. Last year she was a rookie. She actually came into this season as the wild card, as the WSL wild card, so taking up that 11th spot. So Dimity, she wants to keep her dreams alive. I mean, she's got a lot of work to do if she wants to stay in contention. But I mean, I feel like she's looking so confident and so comfortable at the moment.
Just a couple of heats to go, Rosie, and then you can attack the lineup yourself.
I'm waiting, Ronnie. It is on. I can't wait to get into some of these waves. These girls are inspiring me.
Just under 19 minutes to go. Rosie Hodge there with the insights from the lineup. Doing a great job. And Nikki Van Dijk, she has the lead, getting the better of Dimity in the opening stages here. A 6.67 for her last ride. She had a 4.5 on her first. Dimity's in second. Her last wave, a 4.83. She needs a 6.35 to get into the lead.
So control will go a long way in this heat as well. You know, with this backwash, it's keeping these surfers unstable. If someone can rip into a maneuver and look like they're in complete control the entire time, I think the judges will throw a bigger score. So I think they're keeping the temperature just right. 6.67. Nikki, a couple committed moves, but that's just about right.
Some upset results in the top half of the draw, and Sage Erikson getting her best result already of the season into the quarterfinals, and Sage is with Pete Mel.
Sage, we were just discussing, about confidence and how much you need to be on this championship tour. But you would have had a bit of confidence coming into that last one with that win over Lakey. Stephanie, obviously best woman in the world, but you still, I think, believe that you came into that with a lot of confidence. Is that true?
Yeah, coming into that, definitely I felt confident. My equipment from Channel Islands is amazing at the moment, and we've really dialed my boards to the conditions. So I rode a different board that session than I did in my first one this morning, and it seemed to really work well. And also beating Lakey was a huge milestone for me. She's number 4 in the world right now and consistent as heck. And so I knew that this was going to be Steph's first event back in a while, and I'm sure she would have liked to really perform for her sponsor here. And wave selection was key for me out there, and that's where I put my confidence. And once I got on those good waves, I felt okay, and the scores came in and won that heat. So I'm so excited and looking forward to the quarters. There's still a lot of work to be done. It's not finished here.
Ooh, I like that kind of attitude. You've won the World Qualifying Series, so you're safe no matter what. But, I've seen you surf on the Qualifying Series. You really do believe you belong there. And now I'd love to see that transition here onto the Championship Tour. Do you feel like this kind of event can be a breakthrough event for you?
It's so funny for me because I do feel confident in myself a lot on the Qualifying Series, and I find myself often in heats on the Championship Tour a bit hesitant and kind of nervous, and even times a little unstable on my board. And I think for me it's less is more. I think a lot. I got a lot going on in my head, and Glenn's trying to simplify that, and that's a part of competitive surfing. There's so many elements to it, so each heat's a learning experience, and it's a lot more fun when you win.
I love that too. Congratulations. Sage Erikson on the roll.
Thank you, Pete. And I think really that victory was set up, Ross, with a victory in a big paddle battle.
Yeah. Yeah, she kicked out right in front of Stephanie Gilmore and beat her back out. She had the last wave, so that's very rare. That means that she showed a lot of commitment and aggression, which is something that Sage has been missing over the years. That extra bit of spice, I think, is translating into wins.
And she was appealing to the priority judge to flip the disc and give her the nod. She got their approval, and she really controlled the rest of the heat well. Great wave selection. She's on her way to a big finish here at the Quicksilver Pro, and she's going to be taking on Coco Ho in quarterfinal number 2. Right now, though, Dimity Stoyle, she's looking to save her place on the CT. She needs a 6.35, the Sunshine Coast surfer from Queensland.
It's been quiet for about 5 minutes now, so they're going to have to be patient. Nikki Van Dijk does have priority. And you'll get that with this leftover swell we're getting from Joaquim. It's coming from quite a ways away, so it can get inconsistent at times. But you got to enjoy all day long. Look at that non-existent wind, smooth as butter out there.
We'll bring it on. It's going to be a big finish to Heat 3 of round 4. We'll find out if Dimity Stoyle can save her place on the CT and overcome Nikki Van Dijk right after the break. Good size set wave for Tatiana Weston-Webb. She starts to stall for the pitch. She gets barreled. Steph Gilmore, great style as she just barrels down the line.
Courtney Conlogue feeling what it's like to be world #1 for the first time in her career.
Well, here we go. This is Joanne Defay now in front of her hometown crowd. Welcome back to the Roxy Pro. Round 4 is underway. Heat 3 in the lineup. Just a couple more heats to come. Well, the one in the water has to play out, of course, and then a big one to round things out. And it's a great clash. Sally Fitzgibbons will go up against Alessa Quizon. But right now, Dimity Stoyle, it's all eyes on Dimity. Nikki Van Dijk, she's already saved her place on the CT for 2016, whether she finishes in the top 10 or not, because she's 3rd on the QS. And she won't move out of the top 6 on the QS with only one more stop there. But Dimity, this is kind of getting towards her last kind of chances to post some big results. But here we go, Nikki Van Dijk's up once again, driving into this first turn. A sweet connection, maintains control after drifting the tail. Wants to get back out in front of the foam here and add some more points, but it's not going to happen. 12 minutes to go.
I know it's just one turn, but she had a lot of intent with that bottom turn. You know, she really drove deep, hard off the bottom and blasted the fins free. Nice tail slide from Nikki Van Dijk, so I think the judges will be pretty stoked on that. Again, watch this bottom turn. Bottom turn's so key. She's really going to stuff that rail in right there. And it put her in a really great place to be aggressive, and she jammed that tail, so nice maneuver.
Well, just looking at the ratings, really there's nothing separating Malia Manuel and Nikki Van Dijk, who came into the event in 9th and 10th spot. So I think Nikki's going to actually overtake Malia with this finish. She's already made quite a bit of ground on Malia. If she can get into the quarters, I'd say it's a sure thing. It'll be her 5th quarterfinal finish for the year.
All kinds of spooky little scenarios for them too, because I think Malia's tied for 6th on the QS as well, so there's all kinds of implications, possibilities, scenarios.
11 minutes to go. It's one of those interesting situations where Malia would love to be finishing within the top 10 on the CT and earning her spot on the tour that way, but in some respects she can almost cheer Nikki on, because that's going to help her chances on the QS side of things. One thing's for sure though, it is hard to break through. At this point in time, Chelsea Tuak, the wildcard in this event, is the only new addition to the tour next season.
Yeah, that's a great point. You know, we talk about how the men's tour, it's pretty unique to have a handful of rookies, way more so apparent in the women's tour. You know, it's a reoccurring list of rookies.
Excuse me, Keely Andrew is the other surfer that's going to be joining the CT ranks next year, but we have seen Keely take the opportunity as a wildcard to surf in a couple of CT events in the past. 10 minutes to go, Sally Fitzgibbons getting psyched. She sees an opportunity now to get a big result here at the Quicksilver Pro, and the Roxy Pro, sorry, an event that she's won before. Who knows?
A fitness freak. Sally constantly moving. And wearing a little smile while she's getting warmed up.
I got a cramp just watching that.
She's funny. She's you know, such a feisty competitor, but she's always happy and smiling.
Smiling assassin. 9 minutes and 20 seconds remaining in Heat 3 of round 4. And the world title race just took a big turn. Carissa Moore, if she gets through a quarterfinal clash and into the semis, she'll reclaim the Jeep Leaders jersey.
Carissa Moore waiting for one of these two ladies right here. She's already sitting there in Heat 3, Ronnie. And so this is heating up. You know, she's rubbing her hands together after that mishap from Courtney.
Definitely gone a little bit quiet out there, Ross, with the change in the tide. It's almost the peak of the high. Just moments away. Dimity's praying for some opportunities here. She only needs a 6.87. She's had some big numbers throughout this contest already.
Yeah, it's definitely not over. 6.87. Dimity can get that in her sleep in the last 8 minutes. She has priority. And guess what? Nikki Van Dijk knows that. She's not feeling comfortable with that lead. Not a whole lot of talk out there. They're just keeping to themselves.
This is pretty intense. It's so hard in that situation too when there's no waves breaking. The current could pull you out of position a little bit. You've got to be really sure of your spot in the lineup and find some solid markers on the beach.
It's true, and especially, you know, if you have priority, you can go where you want to go. You know, you don't have to jockey around in the lineup. So sometimes, as the person who doesn't have priority, you can be a bit of a salesman and try and pull your competitor out of the lineup.
Who's impressed you most today in the draw for the Roxy Pro?
You know, Carissa Moore has been very steady. You know, I think she's probably surfed the best, but I'm really impressed with Stephanie Gilmore. I think she's reconnected with some of that magic that we're used to seeing from her. Sure, she's been getting a couple of cool tube rides, but I'm liking to see her get back on that rail.
Well, let's have a look at what's unfolded so far here in Heat 3 of Round 4. Nikki Van Dijk finding this wave. It was her best score to date, Ross, but really no one's kind of tapped into a gem ride here and really timed it well.
Yeah, and you know, I want to cut them some slack because there's a lot of mumbo jumbo out there. There's backwash, that tide is really high, and as a result, you can see they've been a little shaky on these waves. Not to mention the face of the wave is really full, so you know, it's tough going out there right now, but there's still scores on hand, and the real difference is Nikki Van Dijk has been catching those waves that have been giving her a nice section to tag. You know, she hasn't been just relegated to those roundhouses.
Well, as you can see, these competitors really close to each other, right up in each other's faces. Priorities with Dimity Stoyle. She only needs a 6.87. And in this situation, it must start to get pretty intense. Rosie Hodge, she competed on the championship tour for a number of years. Rosie, what do you think's going through their minds?
Oh, definitely. I mean, time is just draining out of the clock for Dimity Stoyle at the moment. Like you mentioned, she does have priority. The girls are sitting pretty much on top of each other. Nikki's really trying to apply that pressure that if that situation comes where she can get a wave, maybe Dimity will get a little bit nervous and nosedive, but I don't think she's going to do that. I think Dimity really wants to get something going, and you can see her take off on this wave. Coming around, oh, unfortunately, whoa, I actually spoke too soon. Commentators curse of note. Dimity Stoyle goes down, Ronnie.
Evil, Rosie.
That's going to be a little bit dangerous. And then Nikki Van Dijk taking off behind her, just a quick in and out. So, yeah, boys, there you have it. Dimity Stoyle still requiring that 6-point range score.
Well, that's a heavy situation for Dimity. And I only chuckle because Rosie jinxed her in the biggest way.
Ronnie.
Heavy, I did not mean to, Dim.
No,
oh my goodness, girl,
it's not
you've
your
still
fault.
got time. Get back out there. I don't think you're going to get priority because Nikki's out the back, but hunt something on the inside and get that score.
Just over 5 minutes to go. You can see how tough it is for these competitors out there at the moment, Ross. That tide is wreaking havoc on the face of these waves, and Dimity, she fell victim then. There was a lot of bump on the face. How hard is it to hold a rail through a clean bottom turn like Dimity was attempting when there's all that bump on the face of the wave?
You got to keep in mind the big difference between the men's division and the women's division is they're a lot lighter, and if they don't really pay attention to those bumps, they can get kicked off their board very easily. So I think they need to kick it into gear and kind of be flexible to that by getting lower to their board, making sure they really stay planted.
Rosie's just such a sweetheart. Apologising straight away, but honestly, there was that element of pressure there on Dimity, and I think it did get to her a little bit. She really wanted to lay down a big turn from the outset. I think she's aware that that's where the major points have been all day. The judges have really been rewarding people when they get that big manoeuvre done on the outside.
Well, you can see she had her eyes on a section she wanted to hit, but she didn't take care of business on the bottom turn. With those bumps, you really got to be aware of the backwash.
4 minutes remaining now, and it gets even harder for Dimity Stoyle because Nikki Van Dijk's got priority. Her best chance might come soon because Nikki's sitting a pretty long way out. If Dimity can swoop on the inside,
she's deep,
and chase down a 6.87, she'll be styling. She's just trying to sneak under this one. There is another wave on the outside.
Nikki might have even been looking at the left because she's way behind for the rights. Pretty big set here, Ronnie.
3.5 minutes to go. And Nikki is not really paying attention to what Dimity's doing, and that's dangerous. She's got the lead. There's really no reason for her to take herself out of that control, that situation of having control with priority.
Yeah, I agree with you. She's paying attention to these waves right here. I think she was trying to put herself in a position. It's a pretty big set. It actually moved outside of the bank and turned into a left.
So it's still clean out there, but all the bumps are coming from the shore. The feedback, the beach is really steep. It's a thundering shore break, and there's some reverb. Heads back out there into the lineup, and it just messed up Dimity's last attempt at a big score in a huge way. So 2 minutes, 45 seconds to go.
That was, sorry, Ronnie, that was a bit of a mistake for Nikki. I just stuck my head out the window there, and those rights were good. So Nikki Van Dijk was really far up the point there, and she didn't take advantage of that set.
6.87. From what we've seen in this heat, that 6.87, it might not sound it might not be as difficult as it sounds, because Nikki Van Dijk 6.67,
right?
It wasn't a great ride.
It's a very good point. Yeah, she hit the lip twice, and the cool thing of that for her is she caught a wave that was nice and steep, but you know, it was bumpy, it wasn't in control, so very obtainable for Dimity to get that score.
Dimity has to get the sales woman's hat on, as we see Nikki now trying to really push the lead out of Dimity's hands. Seems to have a better flow on this ride. Smooth rhythm through to the inside. Clean wrap. Not overcommitting to any turn. And Dimity on the outside, looking very frustrated with that wave as it shuts down. 1.5 minutes to go. She's got to put her head down and get back to the takeoff zone as quickly as possible.
Yeah, Dimity's suffering from these tough conditions. She just wants to rip into a big old hack. She's been doing it this entire event, so she was definitely frustrated there. She just wants to surf.
Well, hopefully Rosie's screaming at her to get back to the takeoff zone, because here's Dimity. You can see she's surfing with so much speed at the moment, but that wave, it was a shocker.
That's the tough thing about being a professional surfer. You know, you need the platform to perform on it. It doesn't always, you know, show up for you. Whereas Nikki Van Dijk got herself another keeper. Right now she's holding on to a 5. I think she's gotten rid of that. Not being overly aggressive, just kind of going through the motions. I like that first maneuver that she started this wave with. So I don't think it's going to be a big score, but she might have improved it.
We'll get ready, because there is some lines approaching. Dimity's got to be sure she isn't too deep on this occasion. 35 seconds to go. She's going to get an opportunity here in the final stages of this heat. She's going to need a pretty decent number, though, because Nikki's about to improve her lead. Dimity, she's swinging. Let's see if she can show us some of that form she had at Trestles. Nice start. Clean cutback. Bounces off the foam. Puts it on rail. And leans on the back foot. Still needs more. And she brings it through the inside and kicks out. Just not overly enthused with what that wave had to offer. And a 6.87. Well, that requirement grew after Nikki dropped a 6.5. She needed an 8.34 in the final stages, and she was never going to get it with that wave. So Dimity Stoyle, a tough result for her. She's out of the event. Nikki Van Dijk is going to take on Carissa Moore in quarterfinal number 3. The last heat of the day to come after the break. Sally Fitzgibbons taking on Alessa Quizon. Stay with us.
Big scores getting thrown down. Beautiful conditions.
Welcome back. We're just about to dive into the last heat of the day. An exciting clash between Sally Fitzgibbons and Alessa Quizon, who's chasing her best finish in a CT event this season. Sally Fitz is going to be hard to overcome though, has had some strong performances here at the Quicksilver Pro in the past. She could be deadly. That last heat, a disappointing result there for Dimity Stoyle. But Nikki Van Dijk looking good for a top 10 finish now, moving through. This wave ridden during the break. Sally Fitzgibbons getting a quick start, Ross.
Yeah, Sally, light-footed, very fast, one of the fastest surfers on the women's tour. But right now, you know, she's going to want to lean all the pressure she can on that rail and get as powerful as she can, because it's all about those carves out there.
And Alessa also had a wave.
Alessa Quizon from the west side of Oahu, you know, she might find comfort in it's a lot like Makaha out there right now. It reminds me a bit of that wave, kind of a slopey, backwashy right. So we'll see if she can find some magic there. But both of these girls not really finding a keeper of a score just yet.
Some small numbers dropping in for Alessa Quizon. Plenty of time left. And we're just hitting the other side of high tide. So hopefully with that we see just a slight improvement in the conditions.
Yeah, just drain a little bit of water off of that soundbar and it'll start to steepen up. The good news, Ronnie, though, is there's been a lot of waves. It's been consistent.
It has been consistent through the day. It's been amazing. Really looking forward to watching the post-show and seeing some of the highlights. We saw the manoeuvre of the year thrown down in the Quicksilver Pro. Joe Tappel, Pete Mel and Strider Wozalewski will be reviewing all that has unfolded here on what has been another huge day of competition. I'm baked. We've been going hard at it. It's been some long days, some 12-hour days.
Yeah.
But a number of super exciting heats. Some tough ones this afternoon, though, for some of the top seeds. Courtney Conlogue falling out of the draw. And she is in danger of losing that Jeep Leaders jersey. That beautiful yellow jersey. It's got such a good glow to it.
It's good, though. We've had these long days, but we've been fueled by amazing action. That aerial that Gabriel Medina did today was off the charts. And that aerial that Kaloya Andino did the other day, that wasn't today, was it? It was yesterday. That slob was amazing as well. Some big action in this contest.
Who knows? Here we go, Alessa Quizon. She's got a decent looking wall, drives off the bottom. She's starting to look a little bit more confident as she moves through the rounds of the Roxy Pro. Really pacing herself through this ride. You can tell Alessa's always just begging for a steeper section to throw that backhand right up into a vertical position. But on that occasion, she was relying on a bit more of a carving action.
Yeah, you could see she was hunting, looking for that steep section. She always loves to just whip into a backside snap at 12 o'clock. She managed one major maneuver there, so that's going to be definitely a better score than that first number, just at 2.83. She's going to chuck that to the side.
Here goes Sally Fitzgibbons. She had a 6.67 on her first wave. Sally has a great read on right-handers. Seems to fit her maneuvers into a ride beautifully. Always mixes things up. That wave was just a little too fat, though. She'll
take the 6.67, some smooth cutbacks. So she's got the early lead. That wave maybe not quite as good. Scores dropping for Alyssa Ronnie, 4.83. So she's in the mix here.
She sure is.
I think this first maneuver is the one. You can see right there she got a nice little snap. So getting some rail engaged, throwing some spray. Another little check fade there before that wave kind of hit that inside section where it's notoriously bumpy and backwashy right now, so she had to kick on out. So you can see the ability of Alyssa Quizon. She loves to attack. And Sally Fitzgibbons just looking really steezy and smooth. Maybe a little bit more narrow of a stance I'm used to seeing from her. You can see she's just kind of getting groovy out there with these roundhouse cutbacks. She's feeling it, but that's not going to be a high score.
9 championship tour victories for Sally Fitzgibbons. One of the most winning professional female surfers of all time. And what a career she's had. 3 runner-up finishes to the world title. Just taking a little bit of pressure off herself this season as far as that world title goes. She's got her focus set on a lot of business ventures, some big sponsorship changes, and some exciting projects in the works, which we'll be able to elaborate more on, I'm sure, maybe at Maui and into the new season.
She's such an advocate and die-hard runner. And we've been seeing her every morning with her headlamp on, running in the dark.
Yeah, you feel fitter just being around Sally Fitzgibbons. It's good. It means you don't have to go running yourself. But she is so committed, up early, before the sun. She'll bang out a few kilometres. There's that famous story when she dropped out of title contention a couple of years back. She just did the Forrest Gump. She just put her running gear on and just ran a marathon after falling out of title contention. And I think it was in Maui last year when she lost out of the comp there. She didn't drive home, she ran home.
That's crazy. I would do the opposite, go home and sit on my couch and eat nachos. And cry in my lap.
Just over 22 minutes remaining. Sally Fitzgibbons, her last wave came through at a 4. So let down by the quality of the wave. It looked like she was raring to go. Alyssa Quizon, she did pretty well to convert an average wave into a 4.83, so she's right in this heat. She needs a 5.85 to get into the lead. Thinking back to Alyssa's run through the draw, she got the jump on Bianca Batender in a slow heat by putting 2 decent rides together. Maybe that'll be the case here. Here's a nice looking ride, a great start for the Hawaiian. That's a 3rd strong manoeuvre. And waves like this are hard to come by out there at the moment. It ended up fading away on the inside, but she'd already done quite a bit of damage, and Sally Fitzgibbons is looking to answer now. A good combination from Sal there. Big top turn into a couple of calves. So expect some similar scores from that exchange. 21.5 minutes to go. And things are starting to get interesting in the last heat of the day.
Got ourselves a heat. That was a good little 1-2 punch right there. And Alyssa Quizon in front of Sally Fitzgibbons, so no paddle battle here. She'll get back out there and grab that priority. I really liked that snap, though, that we saw from Sally. Well, let's take another look at Alyssa on her backhand. Nice little snap there. She's got some power. Strong legs, shoving that tail a little bit more on that second one, getting the fins free, and a 3rd cutback. So 3 nice maneuvers. But that wave definitely, in general, was pretty fat. This wave a little steeper. See, less water in the sandbar, better shape, cleaner. And that snap right there was on the money. That was definitely the best turn so far in this heat, and a smooth cutback. So, I think if I had to put my judge's hat on, I would say Sally's got the nod on that too, right? Those 2 waves there.
It's a funny looking hat. Just over 20 minutes remaining. And Alyssa Quizon and Sally Fitzgibbons with a great exchange there. And Rosie Hodge, you're watching this one unfold from the lineup. Do you think Alyssa's maybe feeling a little bit more comfortable that Nikki Van Dijk has progressed through into the quarterfinals, is looking good for a top 10 finish, therefore improving Alyssa's chances on the QS of holding on to a spot for next year?
Yeah, that's exactly it. I think she'd be taking confidence from that. But honestly, I don't think she's thinking about that at this present moment, as you see Sally and Alyssa just pacing back to the outside. I mean, Ross touched on it, saying that he thinks that Sally got the better of that exchange. From my point of view, that first turn that Sally did up into the lip was really impressive, and the way she negotiated, that critical maneuver was really good. And you'd have to think that Sally would be looking at the early exit of Courtney Conlogue and really seeing this as an opportunity for her to kind of close that gap on that world title. And Carissa Moore at the same time into the quarterfinals. The race is getting so interesting.
I love it. It sure is. And Sally Fitzgibbons will fight until the very last heat of the year. And there's a replay from the water. It did look great from your angle. Really does have those big power moves on lock, Sally Fitzgibbons, when the opportunity arises.
Yeah, definitely. As soon as there's something to be had, Sally Fitzgibbons puts it up there. But what's interesting is when you speak to Sally, she always says like she feels like she can give more. So she's always pacing herself throughout the events, which is interesting. I mean, some people just want to come out and fire and do their best in every single heat. She's very conservative. She paces herself throughout the contest.
Gold, Rose. Thank you. Sally Fitzgibbons on screen. She'll be a little rattled hearing that she's lost the lead for a moment. 7.17 was the score for Alessa Quizon, but not too much to fear because she's about to put the biggest number of the heat on the board, and it's going to get her back into the lead. She needs a 5.34, and so far the indication is that she's easily going to get that figure. It's a 7.83, and the Australian moves ahead.
Yeah, close heat there. So Alessa Quizon, it's not game over for her by any means. She only needs a 7.34.
Well, Alessa's first turn, we saw it from a distance on the camera shot, but I think it was a pretty strong maneuver. She's lightning fast, Alessa.
Yeah, she's strong, and she has that kind of that wild pivot, but it's definitely exciting. And I think she's at her best when she can get up vertical at 12 o'clock on that backhand. And if she can hit that steep part of the wave and throw a lot of spray, then she'll break into that excellent range.
She's already taken down a top 5 surfer in this event. Can she take care of the world number 3 here? She needs a 7.34 to get ahead of Sally Fitzgibbons at this point in time. 17 and a half minutes remaining.
And I have the feeling that Sally's been warming up in this heat. She's that last maneuver, it's going to encourage her. She really got the rail knifing through the water there.
Looks like a decent wall approaching the lineup here. It's Alessa with priority, but she opts to let this one go. And Sally has a look at it, but she's a little too deep there. 17 minutes remaining. Earlier on, Ross, we were talking about the standout performer for you in the Roxy Pro so far. You highlighted Carissa Moore. She hasn't dropped a heat yet. She has looked very impressive. I'm impressed by Joanne Defay with the local crowd really cheering her on. She continues to impress. She's had some big wins already, and she's already into the quarterfinals. Here's Alessa Quizon chasing that 7.34. Bit of foam on the face, not an easy wave to surf, but Alessa doing well at the moment. I was going to say, Alessa always looks a little bit more inspired when Kyle Belly's around. That's her boyfriend. He's no doubt helping her with her strategy in these CT events. And it's paying off at the moment. She's got a decent number.
It's pretty cool. He got himself into this CT as well on the men's side. So they've definitely been engaged here in this event, trying to get heat strategy down for sure. So they got their heads switched on for competition mode. But, that last wave for Alessa Quizon got a little slopey through the last half of it, so I don't think that's going to be the score she needs. But for Alessa Quizon, she has a lot of time left. I like the beginning of this wave, smooth and steep, but just a little bit mistimed there. Kind of got bounced around a bit. A little more rail engaged there on that second maneuver. I like that little snap, but there's where the wave just went completely flat. So it's back to the chalkboard.
Yeah, not a 7.34, is it? Still waiting on the number to come through. Just over 15 minutes remaining. Sally Fitzgibbons holding strong with priority out the back. Being very patient, knowing that she needs to better a 6.67 to increase her lead. Smart from Alessa, just giving Sally a bit of space. Hanging a little bit wide. Because we've seen plenty of surfers, even with priority, get caught a little deep. And Sally's going to opt for a left here. Let's see what she can do with it. Drives into the first section. Clean turn off the top. Not really major hits. Just working this wave over. Surfing it to the best of her ability, but there really isn't too much steep wall on offer. I don't think it's going to better a situation. So that's a bonus for Alessa Quizon. She's still going to be chasing a 7.34, and now she's going to have priority to do it.
Yeah, Sally Fitzgibbons trying to get rid of that 6.67. I'm with you, Ronnie. I don't think she got the job done there. We saw that in the last heat with Nikki Van Dijk. She got caught on a deep side of the soundbar, and a couple of really nice right-handers came in. This set, same thing. So big scoring opportunities there, but you got to put yourself in the right spot at the right time.
Well, Alessa hasn't had a championship tour win. I mentioned Sally's 9 CT victories earlier on in the heat, and I think she's given us the most emotional moment of the year so far when she won the event in Fiji.
Yeah.
She tore her eardrum, so a really bad perforation, and had the thing taped up and just muscled through, just really gritted her teeth and got a gutsy win.
That was one of the most poignant moments on tour this year. We've had some big ones, you know, a lot of funky stuff going on, a lot of sticky stuff that our mainstream media, you know, grabbed a hold of. But that was one of the most heartfelt, grittiest, competitive moments we had on tour this year.
Everyone telling Sally, hey, it's not in your best interest to keep surfing with this injury. You should take some time out and recoup. She really backed her chances. She won the year before. She wanted to do it again. And it was just cool to see. I think when someone hangs on and they grit their teeth through something like that, as soon as the hooter sounds at the end of it all, the emotion just comes out. And I remember Rosie Hodges' post-final interview was really, really emotional.
I think for Sally, too, I always think of her as light-footed, fast, quick surfer, great in shore breaks, beach breaks, but she charges. She pulled into some big barrels that week. She pulled into some big barrels last year in Fiji. You know, we talk about Tatiana Weston Webb and how she charges, but Sally's right there. It's no mistake that she's won that event twice.
And she has such a strong backhand. I think stronger than Carissa, stronger than Steph. But it's just on the forehand where she's struggled to match those girls when it comes to world titles. So that's been the difference. There's just 12 minutes remaining. Sally Fitzgibbons is leading this heat and looking good for a spot in the quarters. Alessa Quizon has priority and is chasing a 7.34. More Roxy Pro action coming your way right after this.
And welcome back to the Roxy Pro as we are continuing here with women's action. And I am blessed to have the winner of that last heat, Nikki Van Dijk, who just took a heat win there. You're sitting at 10th in the rankings on the World Championship Tour, but safe on the qualifying series, so you're going to be surfing in next year's Championship Tour. How important, though, is it to you to make sure that you qualify on the Championship Tour? Is that something that's on your mind?
Oh yeah, no worries. I mean, yes, of course it is. I think like just being in the top 10 as well has been like a really good push for me as well, and it gives you a better seating for next year and all the heats I'll have at the start of the year next year. So just doing my best on the CT because my year's not over yet, and just moving forward.
And tell us a little bit about the conditions. I mean, it was pretty full tide, so it was challenging to find those quality waves.
Yeah, it was because the tide's coming in, so it's filling in really quickly, and Dim and I kind of find it a little bit hard at the start, but I mean, it was really good to have a heat against Dimity. It was tough because I think only a couple of those kind of waves ran off properly, and but I mean, still contestable, and I'm still really stoked to be in the quarters again, and yeah, just having a lot of fun down here in France.
So you'll be coming up against Carissa Moore in your quarterfinal. What's it going to take to win over her?
I don't know. Every heat I have against Carissa is something different, so I'm just going to do my own thing and surf the hardest I can, because Carissa's like an amazing athlete, an amazing surfer, and yeah, definitely going to have to bring my best to the plate and enjoy myself.
All right, well, job well done so far. So we'll see you here in the quarterfinals up against Carissa Moore.
Into the quarterfinals yet again. Nikki Van Dijk on a magic roll into the quarters for the 5th time, with an opportunity to cause headaches for Carissa Moore and her title campaign. That could go down tomorrow, so make sure you don't miss it. But right now out in the lineup, 9 minutes remaining in the last heat of the day before Joe Tapel, Pete Mell and Strider Wasilewski light up the post show. So let's see if Alessa Quizon can get herself the lead here. She needs a 7.34, and really that's a pretty attainable score, because there hasn't been fireworks in this heat just yet, Ross.
No, for sure. You know, if Alessa can grab herself a wave that really hugs that sandbar, provides a clean wall, you know, ideally it's wave number 2. We've seen traditionally the first wave of the set as big and wonky. So if Alessa can have the discipline to wait for that second wave and it draws off the bank, look out.
I think Alessa would just be begging for the tide to just rush out as quickly as possible, because she's so dangerous when she gets a fast-running right-hander with a really steep wall. Yeah,
she's lightning quick. Great reflexes. But, you know, don't forget about Sally, too. I think she's not satisfied with that 6.67 as her backup. So for her, in her mind, she's thinking, I got to get rid of that thing.
Well, we know so much about Sally Fitzgibbons because we're generally talking about her through every round of a CT event. So we're always bringing up a lot of her history, and past results, and amazing accolades. But Alessa Quizon, as you mentioned, she's from the west side. She started surfing at the age of 7, and then at 10, she won a pretty important contest over there at Makaha, the Rel Sun Memorial. Tell us a little bit about Rel Sun and that event.
Yeah, I did that event when I was a little whippersnapper too, and the Rel Sun Menehune contest has been on for a long time. It's an amazing annual contest that's you know, for the kids, and you know, there's of course the traditional amateur ranks and events that happen weekly, but every now and then you have those special events that nourish kids, you know, that don't have those cool toys, the surfboards, the clothes, whatever, and Rel Sun has that kind of spirit. And of course, Rel Sun herself, an amazing female athlete that, you know, was like our female Duke Kohanamoku.
Just an inspiration, and from there, Alessa, she had a really strong junior career. And then I remember she came on the scene as a wild card at the CT event over in Rio. And from memory, she semi-finaled there before she graduated to the elite ranks. Caused some huge upsets as a teenager in that contest. But it was her dad that introduced her to surfing at the age of 7, and she still says that her dad is her hero, and I bet the family is watching now, so a big shout out to everyone back there on the west side watching Alessa do battle here, and she's potentially on her way to another big result. She doesn't need a massive number, a 7.34.
And they'd like for her to produce a win because they had to crack it. It's about 5:30 in the morning in Hawaii. And here she goes.
Well, she drops to the bottom. She wants to get that steep approach, and she does. A strong turn to get started. Well, this could be the wave for Alessa Quizon. It's got a couple more sections on it, and she starts to dig in, mixing it up with a backhand carve. Tags it again. Not a lot of wall to work with on that last section, but a decent turn, considering Sally Fitzgibbons behind her. She makes a bit of a mistake there. So let's see what the judges made of Alessa's ride. Sally had a 7.83. I think still owns the best single move of the contest on that ride. So we'll see if the combination of maneuvers for Alessa adds up to the requirement.
Well, again, you know, I think the one thing that was kind of hindered her from really lightening up a couple of big moves was it was the first wave of the set. It was kind of deep, and it had that wonk on it that we've been talking about. But when we queue up that replay, we'll really pick it apart and see if it's worth a 7.34.
This is the angle that we really want to pay close attention to. It's a bit more from the judge's perspective. And that first turn was strong.
Nice, powerful snap. But you can see each maneuver was round, you know, on the face, sort of in that cutback zone. I think if she's going to break into that excellent range, she needs to get up to that 12 o'clock, get involved with the lip.
So 4.5 minutes to go. If she doesn't get the score, it won't be her last opportunity. But we are waiting for the numbers to drop. The judges are having another look at the replay. I do love how she faded back for that first maneuver.
And the cool thing, you know, for these movers, even though they're all in those carves and kind of cutback zones, she put some power into it, especially the first maneuver. You know, she's known for having a strong set of legs underneath her, and I like the power that she had on that first turn. But again, I don't think it's enough. I think she's still going to be searching.
4 minutes to go. Time ticking by. Alessa on the inside. She's having a look at this one without priority. But quickly elects not to stick with it because it's going to fatten up on the inside.
And you can see Sally not even really looking over her shoulder just yet. She knows that where she's sitting is where the bombs are coming in.
How composed is Sal out the back with priority?
She seems extremely composed. I think for her, she's just curious to where that score is going to drop. She doesn't know exactly what Alessa did on that wave from behind.
I wonder if she has any dramas hearing the onside announcers through that helmet.
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm not sure. And the judges having another look, Ronnie, so they're a little bit confused. And this is, I believe, Alessa's 7.17. So they want to kind of set the scale, reacquaint themselves with a number that they already dropped and say, hey, is this better than that? Where are we at here? And this is the score that's on hand. First maneuver I like. It was strong. And this is where that wave found a lot of deep water, so she was forced to do those cutbacks. So, in my opinion, I think this wave maybe is just under that 7.17.
Well, spot on, Ross Williams. 7.1 is the number. A solid score, but not quite solid enough. She needed a little bit more. A 7.34 the requirement, a 7.1 the score.
Close, wasn't it? That was really close. And Sally is going to be wiping her brow. So she's got a couple minutes to play the priority game.
2 minutes, just on 2 minutes to go, and you can see Sally making her way in just slowly. Doesn't want to look overly aggressive. Not that kind of surfer, but way too smart to leave Alessa alone there on the inside.
A little bit unfortunate this afternoon for these ladies. You know, the conditions are tricky. It's all about being on the right wave. That's going to produce those scores easily. If you can get a smooth, steep wall, that's when it's, you know, easy to get an 8.5.
And I think on the bottom half of the draw, even trickier than it was for the women in the top. There's a lot more bump in these last two heats. The peak of the tide arriving during heat 3, and it's still quite full. Hasn't really run out at all in the last 30 minutes. A minute and a half remaining, and Sally is right there.
When the conditions are like this, you have to be so mindful of what you do before you stand up. I mean, you have to perfectly stand up behind it so that you have that one golden section to tee off.
Well, Sal's just going, is that a 7.34 that wave? I don't think so. In fact, it's hardly going to break. 1 minute remaining now. Sally Fitzgibbons.
1 minute remaining, 1 minute on the clock.
She lets that one go. Alessa could have potentially done a better sell job. Sally might not have picked it up, but at least try.
Yeah, true. And she's going to paddle for this one. Sally's let her go. Yeah, it's just a small wave, so.
Really difficult. 40 seconds remaining. Alessa Quizon is still after that 7.34. She got so close on a previous ride, a 7.1. Got to be devastating, Ross, in that situation. You would have been there yourself, chasing a number in the dying stages of a heat, surfing a wave well, and then falling short.
Yeah, it's brutal, you know, and it will keep you up at night. It takes a couple of days to digest losses as a competitor. There's only one winner in every event. It's tough.
Well, here we go. There is 10 seconds remaining. Sally Fitzgibbons has priority. Alessa needs a ride. There's another wave behind it, but the onside announcer already counting this heat down. And Alessa isn't going to get the opportunity. Sally, she's going to finish this wave off. and she'll be moving on through to the quarterfinals. Heat 4, she'll be taking on Tatiana Weston-Webb, the rookie sensation. Should be a great heat when we get the Roxy Pro back underway. Well, thanks for today, Ross.
Yeah, thank you, Ronnie. I can't wait to see the post show. I want to see these people flare up.
Yeah, there is plenty to break down. Joe Chappelle, Pete Mel, and Strider Wazalewski, who, well, he loses his mind at the best of times, but watching some of the highlights from today, he's bound to say something ridiculous.
He is going to get after it.
Looking forward to it. All right, we're going to go to a break. When we come back, the WSL post show with the boys. Don't miss it.
Christmas trees.
Herr Postmann.
What an epic Sunday here in the southwest of France as we have the final 8 squared away for the Quicksilver and Roxy Pro. We saw maybe one of the best airs done in competition, perfect 10s, dramatic carves, and some big names moving on into the quarters as this world title race gets more exciting, heading in toward a potential finals day with plenty of days left in the waiting period. The biggest names of the sport going blow for blow, and the fans here on the beach were loving every single moment. The best crowd on hand here at one of the finest beach breaks here in the southwest of France. It was fun to see all the dramatic start with the non-elimination round and then made those sudden death rounds a bit more exciting. Joe Chappelle alongside Chasing Maverick star Pete Mel, and famous for the Lost movie, Strider Wazalewski. What an epic day of action. Today was a much different day than we had every other day. That's the theme that you talked about early this morning, Pete.
4 days straight.
Major highlights about the venue that we had today. What did you like about it?
Well, we can't not talk about Gabriel Medina's bullwhip spin, 6 to 8 feet out. That was pretty much the most amazing thing we've ever seen in competition, I would have to say, hands down.
Also for you, Strider, we got to see the Wrights go down. A lot of goofy footage really stood out today as well.
Yeah, I was actually super stoked to see Sage Erikson take down Stephanie Gilmore today. That was an interesting one. We saw a paddle battle go down, and, well, the paddle battle got lost, and Sage stepped through.
We're going to go through all those key moments as we'll start with the Roxy Pro. Huge heat also on hand. Round 3, heat number 3 was for Carissa Moore. At this stage, she's still fighting for that number 1 spot once again. She had a matchup with Nikki Van Dijk and Alessa Quizon. Carissa taking the win, was able to skip round 4, and we saw how dangerous round 4 was for Courtney Conlogue.
Well, she was out in the early, and she was impressing. I mean, all of the top men and top women were out there, and Carissa was on fire. So she brought that same amount of energy straight into this heat and just dominated.
Yeah, she's been surfing more than any of the other women, I think. And, you know, when this heat was going down, you could just see that she was in rhythm with the ocean. She took it out there last night. She got a bunch of warm-ups and then right straight into this morning early and just got out there and had fun with it.
Alessa Quizon's been traveling with Carissa Moore the last couple of seasons on tour. She knows that her best friend's in the middle of the world title race. We caught up to her before that. She's trying to stick to her own game, but Carissa's definitely in her own world. She said sometimes she can be challenged at beach breaks. It's a little running right. Kind of looks like a version of a point break she'd be very familiar with.
Yeah, that's right. And I think even like a point break that she dominates too, Bell's Beach. And we talked about that this morning on the tide that she was surfing these heats. It looked at that offshore wind, very similar to a strider that she would have been very comfortable.
Yeah, this that wave right there actually looked like the Super Bank, little mini nugget on the inside. Head dip. I was loving it.
That's right. Well, 8-9 was the high mark for Carissa Moore, but the score line went a little bit higher when we moved into round 3. Heat number 4, the rookie sensation Tatiana Weston-Webb had a matchup with Fitzgibbons and also Dimity Stoyle. Sally, always the favorite. She's been in a few world title races. Tatiana had the 10 before with the tube ride, and again turns into 17-9 total, Strider.
You know, it was interesting. This heat got underway, and it was all Sally and Dimity. That's all people were talking about. They were out there on the face, whacking, stracking. Look at that, just snapping away. And you know what was interesting at the end? She only needed a 7-point ride to actually overcome these two women, and she did that right in the end. She found herself with priority. She said she was sitting there, a big set came through, rolled them over, and Dimity kind of got pushed back. She pushed out and actually got priority, and the wave came right to her, and then she got the score she needed right here up into the lip.
Tatiana Weston-Webb, so solid on her backhand. Kind of what she was famous for as a young drama Pete. We saw you use that to her advantage so many times.
Yeah, she is, we saw it at Trestles, right? I mean, ultimately, if you want to have great success on this championship tour, you got to be able to go backhand and forehand and not really have a strength one way or the other. She's got a perfect team with her. She's got her boyfriend Jesse Mendez here along with mom, so she's feeling really, really well and really good and is into the quarterfinals.
Checking out Tatiana Weston-Webb, 10 the other day for a barrel. Backhand wave, 9.27, 8.67. Fitzgibbons has dominated these beach breaks in the past, sending Sally to deal with round 4. Remember, the tide was filling in. Round 4 was pretty tricky. So Tatiana skipping another round and making the highlight reel. Just the only rookie on tour looking so comfortable looking down the stretch. She's already requalified on the QS. She's actually tied for first. What's her goals now for the remainder of the season, Pete?
Well, for the remainder of the season, I think it's just to build and beat and win, and build experience and confidence. But I ultimately feel like this is a woman who really wants a world title. And she is not going to let anybody get in her way. So watch out for Tatiana. I mean, I think she's going to get better and better. She's still very, very young, and I think as soon as she gets these the rest of the spots on tour dialed in, because she is a rookie, hasn't had a ton of experiences at all of the spots that are on tour, but as soon as she locks those in, tough girl to beat.
Things got a little bit dramatic when we saw the round 4 matchups because we had world number 1 wearing the Jeep yellow jersey, Courtney Conlogue, in a rematch from the final last year at the Roxy Pro, taking on Tyler Wright, a heavyweight bout. It was hard to guess who was going to take this one out before it started, Strider.
Yeah, you know what? Getting started, though, was Courtney right out onto the face. Nice little hook. But this seemed to be her best performance of the heat. I mean, she didn't really seem so sure-footed out there. Tyler, a little stronger. She had a little bit more game. Maybe the nerves played into it. We talked to Tyler after in the post-heat, and she was saying just how jumbly the faces were out there. But every time she kicked out, she would see her opponent on the wave of the day, but she wasn't getting the big scores. So that was an interesting thing to see, was that Courtney kind of couldn't hold on to it. She basically had a lot of pressure from what Tyler was saying, and it's really hard to surf under pressure at this point.
Well, Tyler had a similar start. That layback jam was her go-to start on these challenging, warbly inside sections, but she was able to remain on her feet. Tyler mentioned, Pete, she was surprised when Courtney wasn't posting 9s. It was challenging with the water really filling it.
Exactly, it is, and I think it was the fact that she was on that wave number 2. This was a prime place for Tyler Wright because it did have those kind of open face, and I think she really can lay that back foot in, right? And there was look at the scores, 14.9 to 14.6, and just that little difference in the way she extended her rail was the difference in those point scores. And I mean, if you look at it, it's dead even really. It came down to just those little teeny details that the judges gave that little extra spice.
So #1 in the world out of the contest. The next heat was an exciting one. We've seen the return for the form from Stephanie Gilmore, just putting the jersey on after so many events on the sidelines. She had Sage Erikson. Sage is on the back of the rankings. They had a big upset moving on to the quarterfinals, Strider.
Yeah, it was a huge upset to me. I mean, you see somebody like Stephanie, she goes out, she's surfing like this, she's having fun, throwing water everywhere, having a blast, little drop wall, it snaps on the inside. She looked really good out there. But Sage stayed confident, really got the best wave. She's been working with Glenn Micro Hall, and he's just telling her, you surf great, get out there on the best waves, you'll have a result, and she did that. There was a moment in this heat where these two women got into a paddle battle, and right there, Sage got the better of her, and then she ended up on this wave, and that was the turning point of the heat.
I talked to Sage the other day, and when it was flat, she was actually doing sprint paddles for practice. Got right back into form, earned priority to close out this matchup. Key thing was positioning, being on the right waves
and not making mistakes. I think that Sage, ultimately she has found herself with some confidence here, and it's showing now, especially when she comes up against girls like Lakey Peterson, who was able to win there, and then now Stephanie Gilmore.
As Sage just said, wow, the tour is really fun when you win. She had some heartbreaking losses this past season. Sometimes you start wondering about your own form, but she's reminded, taking on one of the best of all time, moving into a quarterfinal clash, which is going to be really fun to watch. But I think the real big news was a big blow to Courtney Conlogue's world title campaign.
Yeah.
There's a situation, Strider, well, she could lose that yellow jersey depending on what Carissa does.
Yeah, well, if Carissa makes it into the semifinals, the jersey comes off of Courtney and onto Carissa Moore, which is a huge deal. We've all seen it. Carissa's on fire. She's ripping. So, they're throwing that thing around back and forth, but it could be a different story coming out of France. The yellow jersey over to Carissa.
Well, let's check out the matchups. Looking at the quarterfinals for the Roxy Pro to see what Carissa has to do to wear yellow once again. Joanne DeFay will take on Tyler Wright. That's a repeat matchup from last season in a semifinal. Coco Ho has been dominating, skipping all the scary elimination rounds. That'll be her first one-on-one heat against Sage Erikson. Carissa Moore, Nikki Van Dijk, Tatiana Weston-Webb, and Sally Fitzgibbons in quarterfinal #4. Nikki's been on a roll. She's the one that can help out Courtney Conlogue. She now has 5 straight quarterfinal finishes on the CT.
Nikki, if you're listening, I think one of the things that you can do that you have always done, and when you won in Cabo, was that you caught the very first good wave in the heat. And when she does that, all of a sudden the rhythm starts for her. It's when she has to start chasing is when I feel like it starts to get a little bit weird for her. But if she gets that first solid wave, watch out, Carissa.
Well, let's keep the topic on titles. Switching to the Quicksilver Pro, we started with non-elimination format again. Mick Fanning's been the talk of the town since his comeback to victory. Back against the wall, 16 seconds, took out Husino. Mick said himself he thought he was done, but he performed in a really massive way. His heat was against Bede Durbridge and Italo Ferreira, another heat, Strider, where he had to get his lead back a couple times.
That's right. You know what? Bede's been on fire in this event, and I'm calling he's going to be right there in the end, up there, going for the win. But Mick is just so strong, and he knew what he needed in the end of that thing, and he got it. But Bede, look at him. He's a big guy. He's got a huge frame, but his body and his tempo and his structure is just fitting into these nuggets just perfectly. He knows how to surf the Superbank, which is what it was like today, this morning, and then after that, coming into his heats in the afternoon, he was just wide open.
Conditions really fun for this heat, Pete.
Well, I was just going to say, another guy that knows how to surf that high tide Superbank, and this is exactly what it looks like. And he was. It's going to be really hard to beat Mick if he gets his waves. He doesn't make much in the way of errors. He's able to kind of mix it up too. I saw him after his heat did this sick blowtail reverse, so he's got that sitting there in his back pocket if he ever needs to use it.
Italo Ferreira was also mixing up in this matchup, but he was forced to get sent into round 5, where he had to deal with his good friend Jadson Andre. Italo was successful in that matchup, but the dominance, Mick Fanning 8-5, 8-1, 7. But Bede was at his heels, earned himself a couple true lead changes, but the form was back. Seeing a seasoned vet kind of find form like this, sometimes you see guys in their mid-20s get back on a roll. Late in Bede's career, I think he's doing the best surfing he's done today.
All in the head, right? It's all in the head.
Another big title matchup as we move on to Adriano de Souza. He took on John Florence and Jeremy Flores.
This was a huge heat. This guy came out of the gates and got a 9. Are you kidding me? Nobody saw this coming. Nobody on the beach. Everybody was just, sitting back getting ready to watch the John show, as Ross would say, had his popcorn out. But you know what? John surfed really well. Not as good as we thought he was going to surf. And the board looked a little sticky. So, we were kind of waiting for more from him. A little off tempo maybe, but you know what? De Souza brought it.
I talked to John's mom right after this heat. She felt John was a little out of position to start. Remember, Pete, Adriano started into the 9s on that opening round.
Listen to mom, John. Listen to mom.
That's right. Big carves, great transitions from De Souza. I think he surfs better not wearing yellow. He likes to have a goal in mind. He finds a lot of inspiration off of fanning. He was super dangerous in the spot.
Well, if he keeps surfing as good as he does right now, he's going to have to learn to surf in yellow. But, good showing here by Jeremy Flores. It's just tough when you have a 9.57 getting thrown at you first out of the gates and then back it up with an 8 literally before you even caught a wave. So it's when you're battling from that far behind, it can be tough. But it's exactly what Adriano had to do, and he did it.
So women's side, different story. Number 1's out, 2 still in the running. On the men's side, Mick and Adriano, 1 and 2 in the world. They had a final at the Hurley Pro, and they could be running into themselves again if they keep up this kind of form. I think the showstopper, though, was an all-goofy foot matchup. This was kind of like what the round 4 was created for, right? To see guys go for broke. I think it's kind of meant to be done in good waves, and we kind of earned it. Medina taking on his teammates, Owen Wright and Matty Wilkinson, and Gabriel Medina stole the show, Strider.
Well, all these guys are good friends, right? They all ride for the same team. They travel together. They have a blast together. Little speed touch to go, and then down the line, little telegraph. You knew it was coming. Boom! Are you kidding me? This guy just rotates 6 feet out over the lip. Full rotation, comes down, sticks it, and buckles his board. Throws a waist claim. It was incredible to see something like that go down in a heat.
Looking at the numbers, 19.83 total for Medina. It's not like the other boys didn't show up. Owen, 15.56. Wilco, a 16-point total at the end of the heat.
Yeah, no, it was great surfing. It was entertaining. The waves were going off at this point in time. It was perfectly, the tide was just about perfect. You had tons of waves, too, for a 3-man heat. Everybody got their chances.
As we look at how good Medina was, throwing away 8s, threw away another 9. This is what he did when he came on tour. He wouldn't stop. He doesn't just keep 2 waves and sit with and get strategic. He'll blow up and just take out all of his competition. Strider, what does this do to the world title race now that Medina's acting as spoiler and he's surfing like a world champion again?
Well, he's acting like a madman. This guy's surfing so good. That last wave we saw, he hooked that thing 3 times strong and then just finished off. That's some of the best surfing we've seen definitely in the event. He did the best maneuver probably of the year as far as I'm concerned. That thing was ridiculous. Just to see him in his whole tempo right now, I love it.
Exciting stuff. Thanks so much, Pete Mel, Strider Wazalewski, for our entire team. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Joe Turpel. You've been watching the Quicksilver and Roxy Pro. We are into the quarterfinals for both divisions. We'll see you bright and early tomorrow for Dawn Patrol. Off the top carve for DeFay. Tyler Wright, high line off the top. The Hawaiian with some room to move. Tight jam under the lip. Coco carves one off the top. The bottom drops out and she hangs on.
Carissa's going to use her priority, digs in a little harder on the second move, bashes the lip, and looks to tuck into the barrel, clean style, and she finds the exit.
Wilson up now, ton of speed, springing off the bottom, alley-oop. Now Mick wraps it in the pocket, now jamming it tighter. He's going to pull in quickly. Explode on his first jam. Tail release off the top, ton of size, a beautiful carve. Holds the rail right in front of Kolohe. Stepping on the gas, a clean forehand float. Quick reaction, another lip line floater, and he stomps it. B. Durbridge is on fire.
Sage Erikson. Nerves of steel right there to let Steph go on that wave.
Sage Erikson takes out 6-time world champ, former Roxy Pro champ Stephanie Gilmore.